Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. Okay, this is going to be a little wild. Kelsey might not be here today. He's running some errands. And so I might be flying solo. We'll see how it goes. Oh, boy. This is going to be tricky. But anyway, hopefully everyone's doing well. It is my birthday. I'm excited to look at some John Buscema. I got tons and tons of files. I actually spent about 6 hours on Heritage going through stuff the other day, and it was interesting. We're going to get super crazy. I should have bought White Claws and started drinking them while we were recording this now. It was interesting actually looking at the Buscema art. Look at my cat. This is going to be my Chewbacca. I'm Han Solo, and this is Chewie. It was interesting. I actually saw a lot of things that Kelsey does in John Buscema's art. And another person that I was thinking of a lot while I was actually saving all the files was Dan Fraga. And so I ended up sending the files to both of them as just like a little bit of like a gift. It was a lot of work. Holy shit. I spent so long downloading the files. I'm just going to reboot my iPad so I can see the chat on my thing. Because once we get into looking at the art, yeah. So this is a friend of mine is a pilot. He flies for American Airlines. Like he's like a captain, so like legitimately flies the plane. And he and we both saw a documentary on Netflix called Sugarman, Finding Sugarman. And this is the record store in South Africa, Cape Town, where they I don't know if they discovered him. It's a weird story. He's like kind of like Bob Dylan, but never got super famous anywhere but in South Africa. He had like a huge hit, and so like they assume everyone knows who he is. But he's really good. It's a good documentary too, actually very interesting. What's up, Sheldon? We've got Ben, Sergio, Prater, Kier is here. What's up, Kier? Kier's crushing it with his create your own book that he's working on. It's really, really nice art. We've got Delperdang. What is up? Chris Staggs. Pete is here. It is party time. Andro Taz. We had Jake. There was Colin. Who else? Peter Palmiotti is here. Let me know who else is here in the chat. It would be fun to see who else here. Yeah, I honestly, I tell people this. If you give me a black shirt, I will wear it just about any. Hey, what's up, Kevin Victor? What is up, Kirk? Yeah, no, I actually wear gift shirts, and I'll wear them into the ground until they literally just fall apart. So, yeah, black shirts are good to go. Pet care rich. Yeah, I know, right? Ow, fuck. Ow, that actually hurt. She got me. All right, so yeah, we're gonna do John Buscema today. Colin said something interesting in the chat that is exactly how I always felt about John Buscema. So as a kid, there was a 7-Eleven and a small, very small hole in the wall comic book store by my. Hey, what's up, Ian? How are you? So when I know cats, right? When my first impression of like Marvel Comics, honestly, was I thought that John Buscema was what Marvel Comics looked like. You know, I would pick up Conan the Barbarian, not the magazines, but the comic books. And what else? Hold on, I want to read the chat real quick. Let me know if it still doesn't work. Oh, he's talking to Sheldon. Yeah. So to me, Buscema's stuff is incredibly iconic and really sort of the face of Marvel. And I know that John Romita Sr., obviously Kirby, Gene Colan. I mean, there's tons and tons of great artists that came through Marvel. Plug. I mean, you could go on and on. I don't know how many of you follow me on Twitter. It would be worth it. I don't really get into like Twitter beefs and stuff like that, but I tend to post there a little bit more than Instagram. But I've been going through my comic book collection. Oh yeah, the Wolverine issues. Now I got those in like the 90s, but I bought all the back issues. In fact, I don't know. Oh, they're in a box. I've been going through my entire comic book collection. It's about 3,000 to 5,000 books. Kelsey might not be here today. He's driving his brother somewhere and isn't sure he's going to be back in time. He's basically stuck somewhere right now. And if he gets home in time, he's going to come on. I told him I'll be on for about 2 hours. It would be awesome if an hour from now he did show up. So that's the hope. Also, if Dan Fraga, if he shows up in the chat, I would totally bring Dan on, because like I said, when I was downloading all these files, my cat really got me. That's like one of the it nailed my finger. Yeah, Dan would be great on the show, because it was funny, as I actually was thinking about having he and Kelsey on today. Dan's sketches remind me a lot of like the John Buscema sketchbook. So this was kind of interesting. On top of the fact that I'm showing my collection on Twitter right now, I've started following tons and tons of comic book channels. We'll get into the art in just a second. We usually vamp for 5 minutes or so and let everyone kind of get in. I've started following probably like 30 new comic book collector channels. An old one that I actually have plugged here before is Eta Nick, E-T-A Nick. Really like nice guy. He's a huge comic book fan. Obviously, most people know Gem Mint Collectibles. I've been following his channel for a long time. But if you follow Gem Mint Collectibles channel, you may know a guy named Very Gary. So I'm actually going to bring Very Gary on. He's a YouTuber. Really nice guy. Super hardcore collector, and I learn a lot from actually watching these videos of people that are super hardcore comic book collectors, and it got me excited about my comic book collection and actually looking at the comic books again. And once I started going through my collection, I realized how much more I enjoy looking at the comic books than looking at digital files or even trades. There's something, I've always said this, there's something about a comic book, like the actual floppy, that it's like an archival moment in time. It really is like a time capsule. You're hard right now. Yes. I don't know, you just can't switch it. I have all these right here. So I've been going through like I love these books, the Marvel Treasury things. This is a Barry Windsor Smith one. Let me hold it up, or I'll show you the back. The back is good. I'll pop it out of the bag. You know, there's just something about having the comic or something like this that just is so much more enjoyable, and such a, you know, you break something like this out and you flip through it, and it not only takes you into the world of the comic book itself, but to me, it also is like you're kind of going back 40 years. Like this probably came out in 1975. This was released 1975. It's freaking like practically 50 years old. It's just awesome to hold something like this and look through it and just enjoy the art, and you kind of think about the time that it was created and stuff like that. And I mean, I actually love the convenience of digital files and, you know, zip files and all that stuff. I mean, it really makes it nice when you want to find something quickly and just sort of check it out. But man, nothing is as cool as having, you know, a comic book or that. So anyway, let's just get into it. And let's see, I'm trying to read the chat. It'll be a little tricky. As soon as I go into full screen mode, I'm not actually gonna be able to see the chat on my desktop, but I've got my iPad right here. So I'll it is a time capsule. I agree, Sergio. There's something really special about it. And I honestly don't feel that even trade paperbacks capture the same feeling. Thank you, Bags Brothers. Right, the smell of newspaper and ink. Well, this is interesting too. I don't think that I'm giving away any spoilers for Kelsey and I, but I did mention how we came up with this show. Yeah. The open the book. The thing is I got a new cell phone and it doesn't record them as good. That's part of the reason. I've never said it, but for whatever reason, the new phone that I have doesn't record them as good as my old one. And my old one doesn't really record that good anymore. Thank you for the birthday wishes, Michael. But so Kelsey and I, we were talking on the phone just about our create our own books. And the one thing that we both kind of agreed upon, and it wasn't something that we were planning, but we both expressed interest in, we don't really want to only do big books, meaning 48 pagers. We actually want to do comic books where we do more issues, you know, maybe smaller. I know I love Sal Buscema stuff, but yeah, so it was funny as we both kind of were like, man, I would rather do 8 issues of Blaster Kid a year, you know, than just 2 48-page books, you know, one that comes out early in the year and one that comes out later. So I had some ideas on how that might be possible. So anyway, but Kelsey and I were both on the same page about that, and part of it I do believe was me going through my comic book collection and just really looking at the runs of the books and being excited about that, thinking about the stories. And I think that there's a different pacing that you use on a 20 to 24 page comic than you do with a 48 page. Like, yeah, 20 page book is, you don't have to rush things. The expectations in terms of like a lot of story being told, I honestly feel like with a 48 page book, you're either trying to cram too much information into it, or it can leave you maybe a little like, really, that was it? So it's a weird thing with a 20 page book and more installments of it. I think that it would be funner, but the huge challenge there is actually production time. Well, it depends on how you're doing it. Again, padding. I had a couple of ideas. I had thought about this a while ago, so I'm going to keep that kind of private for now, because it's like, you know, we're trying to do something unique, and it's both of our books, not just Blaster Kid, but Kelsey's own creator-owned book. We both have the desire to maybe do a bit more, so it's exciting. So all right, let's get into the work. What we're going to do first is we're going to look at prelims, and then we're going to start getting into more finished work of John Buscema. So the one very, very cool thing about all these files I have, and Dan Frega, if you show up, dude, come on in. I would love to have you actually comment on this stuff with me. But so Buscema has had like every inker in the book. I mean, it was insane going through Heritage. And I mean, you had everyone from Mike Royer, Joe Sinnott, Klaus Janson, Bill Sienkiewicz, Tony Zuniga, Ernie Chan. I mean, it was Marie Severin. It was absolutely insane. Barry Windsor Smith's Conan is better. Well, it's subjective. I'm not going to get into who's better or worse. And I don't think Buscema was only defined by his Conan work, but anyway, the variety that we're gonna get just based on the inkers, really, Alfredo Alcala. I mean, there's tons. I didn't have time to label every single file that I downloaded, because renaming the files, Heritage, when you download it, if you just download the file, it will just have like kind of an encrypted sort of abbreviated name that has nothing to do with who participated in the art. So I did rename some, but anyway, we'll be able to touch on the names. I named them with little abbreviations and whatnot, just to keep it. Nebras actually has inked Buscema too. So all right, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go into Photoshop. We're going to look at a little bit of the John Buscema sketchbook. There was a piece in particular that someone had recommended that they thought was a very high watermark of pen and ink sort of illustrated stuff. And then we're going to get into finished black and white pages. So it'll be cool. And look, better, we're saying, what's up, Jackson? How are you? I didn't realize that was your comment. I just saw the comment. Yeah, I mean, it's like arguing about bands or discussing bands. I wouldn't call it arguing, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like someone loves Pearl Jam, someone loves Soundgarden, someone loves Nine Inch Nails. It's just, you know, it's whatever you're into. The aesthetics will appeal to different people, you know. So, all right, let me share my screen. And actually, someone recommended a bridge, so I'm going to actually experiment with bridge. I mean, I've used it before. I just never have used it in a video, so... but I have stuff open right now. You're right, Jackson. Jackson's right. That's the final answer is Jackson. Jackson won. All right, you're gonna see me looking to my left a lot, because I'm gonna be checking my iPad for the chat and watching it. So all right, let's go. Taskmaster could never beat the other Taskmaster. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so this is the cover of the John Buscema sketchbook. I'm gonna move my iPad over here so I can continue to follow the chat. This is probably traditionally painted. I highly doubt that he did it digitally. Although Buscema passed away in 2003 from stomach cancer, which I actually did not know that. That was very sad to read. Let's do a little background on John really quick. So John is a Brooklyn, New York native. And that's where Frazetta was from. It was kind of interesting. So Buscema was born in 1927. Frazetta was born in 28, I believe. So they're similar ages. And what it said here to me is that he did some strip art in the 50s and some freelance work, and then he left comics for a little while and then returned to comics. And obviously Wikipedia, there's like a ton of info, but so in the 1950s, he freelanced for Timely, but at the time I guess it was known as Atlas Comics. He worked for Ace Publishing, which Frazetta worked for, Quality Comics, and I've never seen any of this work, but apparently he worked on Roy Rogers comics, which would be interesting to see what his early work. And his first superhero work was actually with Jerry Siegel. He produced a Western, some war, and sword and sandal stories, or adaptations, movie adaptations for Dell, which that's pretty interesting too. I definitely would like to see that stuff. So it's something where I'd be very, very curious to see what Buscema's work looked like pre-Marvel. And then he spent 8 years in the commercial field. So he actually left comics for about 8 years in maybe the early 60s. And then in 1966, he came to Marvel, debuting over Jack Kirby's layouts on Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So anyway, all right, let's get to this. We're going to start looking at the art. Let me check the chat. I have the Michelangelo of comics. Very hard to find, expensive. Yeah, that was what Stan Lee referred to John as, which is cool. It's interesting actually going from Frazetta to Buscema, because obviously Frank is incredibly highly regarded, as is John, and they have that Conan connection, which is kind of interesting. But I do think of them as just different artists. They just happen to come in at the same time. But Buscema was, I'm sure, definitely a fan of Frazetta's. So anyway, but I really think that this cover for a sketchbook is actually beautiful. I don't know what this finished piece, if this finished piece was ever published. Do any of you recognize this? Do you know if this was a finished piece, or is this just like a personal sort of exploration? But anyway, so the introduction to this book is by Jim Steranko, and it's published by J. David Spurlock, and he credits John Buscema. I don't remember what year this came out. I have this book, though. So anyway, I just grabbed a few sketches from this. So this is a bonus portfolio they put in the back, but there's a lot of like swashbuckler kind of drawings and stuff like that, like almost like illustrated story type characters. It's quite nice, though. Buscema, I think that was the reference, is the person that recommended there's a piece in particular I have open here. He said that he felt that John Buscema was the best inker on John Buscema. And I would agree. I think that John had great inkers, but when John would ink himself, these aren't great scans. The scans that I have, I mean, these are nice for the book, but wait till you see the heritage scans, because they're high res off of the original files. But beautiful drawing of a horse here. Let me get them. These sketches have a really nice one. Okay, I'm just checking the chat really quick. I'm checking. What was it says, did Steranko sneak up and take Liefeld's? I don't know what that means. I was trying to find if there was a reference to something with Rob Liefeld. But yeah, these are cool. I did actually an hour-long penciling lesson. This was the piece that the person had recommended, and said that they felt this was a very, very high watermark of Buscema inking himself. So this was from 1992, and it is really, really nice. I love these faces. So classic. I mean, to me, this just was Marvel Comics, When people didn't draw like this, it looked a little weird to me. Interestingly enough, one of my other early exposures was Sal Buscema, and it's interesting because I was a big fan of the Hulk as a kid, for the short amount of time that I collected comics. But I always liked Hulk and Ghost Rider, and these are great. He's got a real rough way that he approaches ink, and it's not fussy in his brush. I was watching the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way video. His brush is not in great shape, to be honest. The one that he uses is very, I was looking at it, and it just wasn't really getting a very sharp tip. But that's not the aesthetic that he goes for. So it works fine for him, to be clear. But for me, I generally will spin a brush and kind of sharpen it if I'm going to ink. And he didn't really necessarily need to do that to get the lines that he wanted. Hulk and Rom. Oh, okay. Yeah. Kelsey is helping his brother out and is not at home right now. But if he returns home, I'll throw him into the chat immediately, or into the stream, I guess you'd say. So Buscema is what I would call a back of the page sketch guy. David Spurlock here is asking him, do you do a lot of sketches of homeless people? So he likes drawing them, but not the idea of homeless people. He likes positions. He likes their crouched over, the drapery and stuff, I'm sure is interesting. But yeah, like a lot of John's originals, when they're selling them on Heritage, many times they will flip them over to show sketches that are actually on the backs of his pages. Will Sportaccio was very famous for doing that too. There was almost always a little bit of extra art on the back of his boards. And so John kind of did the same thing. So and these are nice. They're very, very, man, talk about a pencil line here. This is really wild. Yeah, I don't know if Sal was faster than John. That would be an interesting thing. I mean, Sal's still alive. Oh, that was what I was going to say too when I was talking about the comic channels. So I was watching two guys talking about Avengers, the comic book Avengers, and they kept referring to John as John Buscema, and I was like, oh shit, maybe I'm saying it wrong. Stan Lee in the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way video refers to John as John Buscema, so that's what I think is right. I would assume that Stan would know over two comic fans, and the only reason I doubt them, although they were New York guys, is they didn't know who Klaus Janson was in their video. They were talking about Klaus Janson, and neither guy knew who it was, which I found a bit strange. Considering their sweet spot. Their sweet spot wasn't in modern age. They were in the Silver Age and Bronze Age, and I'm like, how do you not know who Klaus Janson is? But nonetheless, they were saying Buscema, and I kept going, So be careful when you get information on YouTube, because stuff like that, people can seem very professional and not know much. Is Dan here? Is Dan here? If Dan's in the chat, let me know. I'll give him a link right now. I'll look back in 1 second. We'll go over this piece. But if Dan's here and he wants to come on, I would love to have him. It would be great. Like I said, when I was collecting all these files, I was thinking about him constantly. This is so good. I mean, the way that John draws legs and feet to me is just, it's Marvel Comics. It's just the way that I see it, and I've always related to how you draw feet, how you draw legs and knees and stuff like that. I don't know, it just looks right to me. And man, his faces, they're so tough. This is nice too. So okay, let's we're gonna, enough sword swashbucklers in the file. This is very, very cool. We're gonna get into the prelims and sketches that I pulled aside, and this will cover a ton of stuff. It's their prelims for pages, their sketches of all these cool characters and stuff like that. I mean, this stuff is great. These are really, really loose, man. He shows in the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way multiple ways. Oh, this is nice. Multiple ways that he can block in drawings. From cylinders and real simple shapes to more advanced sketching, where you're really trying to find the lines within almost like a scribble. But I showed it works. You know, I did a scribble yesterday in my example on Patreon that was literally a scribble. It was not supposed to be anything. And I drew a figure out of just completely random lines that I could see things that look like hips and a leg and part of a like side of a body. So, you know, you can really start to focus in your ability to take a lot of random sort of sketchy lines and then pick the ones that you're going to leave in your drawing. So, and these are great. Sketching is an important tool. I mean, it definitely keeps your gestures flowing. And like I had mentioned a few minutes ago, looking at John's sketches and even his finished pages, I could really get a sense of Kelsey. And Kelsey's ability to actually draw very, very naturalistic figures and stuff like that. I mean, it really, I mean, this looks like Kelsey art to me, to be honest. When I see his sketches and prelims and stuff like that, he sometimes will finish it more cartoony, but he knows what he's doing. This guy's very swanky. Yeah. I'm just catching up with the chat. Give me one sec. Oh, wasn't there already a Silver Surfer artist edition from IDW? Maybe it's a smaller one. I'm nearly sure that they've already done one. So they do these ones that are slightly smaller than an artist edition, that reprint the big book in a slightly more manageable size. Some people don't like the size of artist editions. They're too big for them to store. Once you have a shelf that fits them, you know, then you're kind of good to go, and you can get a few. I store them in a few different places. Man, these are great. So don't worry, we've got lots and lots of finished pages to look at, and again, we're going to look at a plethora of different inkers on him. So oh, Hugo Pratt. I could see Pratt in this. So now, do you think Buscema was influenced by Hugo Pratt, or Pratt was possibly a fan of John? These are nice. He does great wrists and hands. That was another thing that Kelsey pointed out when we were talking about Buscema after I had sent him the files. He goes, man, nobody in comics draws hands better than John Buscema. So that was pretty cool. This looks like Kelsey to me too. I'm telling you, it's a little more Frazetta-ish in terms of a layout, but this right here actually does look like Kelsey to me a little. So okay, I'm going to open some more files, and we are going to get going. All right, so bridge. I'm bridging it. We are going to go into prelims and sketches. All right, I'm just going to grab a ton of these, and we'll open them really quick. Some of these I went through on Patreon yesterday. Oh my God, this is gonna be so good. So, and again, after this, we're gonna get into we'll get into finished pages. So let's pop these up real quick. I'll catch up with the chat. Yeah, his hands, his wrists too. Yeah, no, Kelsey said he's definitely influenced by John Buscema. Jimmy, I'm trying to catch up. Pretty sure Jimmy got to ink John on something. Jimmy who? Peter? Jimmy Palmiotti? Oh, your brother. Oh, okay, sorry. I was trying to put together who, like, I was thinking older school. Oh man, this is so good. Okay, so again, these are all off of Heritage. So if you get real excited and you go, "Oh my God, Rich, where did you get these files?" They're all on Heritage. There's thousands, so it's a lot of work going through them, but I think well worth it. So all right, I'm gonna go into full screen mode, and we're just gonna sort of enjoy these prelims, and we'll do this for maybe 15-20 minutes, and then we'll get into finished pages with all kinds of different inkers. It's gonna be great. So these are prelims scanned off the original boards. And again, it was not uncommon for him to draw on the back of a comic book page. So, but you can see what's an important tool that you can use to study for stuff like this is you'll see a consistent sort of setup of lines that he uses to indicate things. And when you start to see those in like many drawings, like there's always a crease here, or the way he sets up a nose. I was looking at some Gil Kane stuff, and I noticed it too. That means it's important to them when they're setting up a head. If you constantly see them throwing a certain few lines, those are guidelines that they're using. So again, this looks like a back of a 11x17 that he's Alex Toth. Yeah, I could see that too with those. It reminded me of some of those, but you can see, I mean, look at these figures right here. Let me I'll darken this a little bit just in case it's a little washed out for you all to see. But these are just on the backs of the pages. And so the stamp right here, this is DC Comics did this when they bought Wildstorm, is they would want to stamp the back of the pages. And this is actually a comics code authority approved, meaning that they were looking for content that probably wasn't appropriate, or was not. But you'll see companies will stamp it with a no permission to reproduce the art kind of deals. But these are nice. I'm just catching up with the chat really quick. No, there's a bazillion inkers, Jackson. You'll see Rudy Nebrez for sure. There's Ernie Chan. There's there's probably 20 different inkers at least. So this is a prelim for a page. This is actually very, very cool. I'm guessing it's Conan. I guess it could be Tarzan, but it's still real nice. I mean, you can really see these power shapes with the way that he's going over this. It's very, very cool. We'll scoot through some of these looser ones a little tiny bit faster, but this looks like it could be right out of Nora's saga. Look at this right here. Kelsey might use this. If you follow the comic, watch him. He's tricky. He says he challenges his fans to find where he got ideas and poses from. He's gonna watch us back and be like, oh no. He actually does say that publicly. These are great. Oh my gosh, they're so cool. And these are they're real educational if you're like into drawing, to see how much they put down to kind of think out these pages. This one is upside down, is it? Yeah. Let me try to rotate this. I was like, oh, it's weird, the guy's being thrown upside down. So this is page 6, and it was upside down. Oh, it's Dr. Doom. Check it out. Look, there's Doom, and right here he's leaping. Man, that is so cool. You see that? Look at how he set up this figure. They're all swirly lines. Do you see this? Let me grab the brush. All of his lines are doing this for the arm because he's trying to show you that it's a cylinder. He's just reminding himself that it's a cylinder. He goes right up it with that shape. Even the leg. Do you see how he's just feeling space? Man, it's so kick-ass. All right, let me go like this. And honestly, if you have a little bit of disposable income, you should follow Heritage, because the thing is some of this stuff goes for fairly cheap. You have to kind of pay attention to the prices, because sometimes an auction was 17 years ago and it'll be cheap. But prelims and stuff like this, especially from titles that maybe people weren't such a huge fan of, are highly undervalued and I think really interesting. I would love a couple of these. Oh, so that's Tarzan? Okay. His gestures are better than almost anyone else. These are nice. And it's interesting too is look, the reality is we start to see all these different inkers. Some of these guys were probably working over stuff that literally looked just about exactly like this. He may have gone in and done a little bit more, but my guess is John probably could knock out one of these in like maybe 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. And man, they probably got 10 or 15 of them together and then just sent them, via mail to who knows where in the world, wherever all these different inkers lived. But here's a little piece that he inked himself, and again, you can see how beautiful his inks are, and how seeing these scans off the original are so much more definitive than the very nice scans in the Spurlock book, but they just don't compare to this. You can see the pencil lines still in the drawing. I can darken it a little bit in case your monitor is not calibrated like mine. But you see that you can still see the pencil lines a little bit in here. And then you can see the lines that he's choosing to retain. I love that he doesn't draw any of the other eye. I mean, it's, not like a superhero, but you can still learn a hell of a lot from this. And this is nice too. Almost like Sumi brush inking. How tight were his pencils? I mean, he drew well enough that I'm sure that he could draw very, very tight if he wanted to. We'll see. There's some examples of finished pencils in here. So you'll see. I think it depended on the job and also probably who was inking him, the circumstances of it. I think John probably was a go-to guy, meaning that someone said, oh, what do you think of the inconsistencies of his work? And look, John was a workhorse for Marvel and was highly desirable. So the thing is if they needed something done and they felt that John was good for the job and he wasn't busy, they might just throw stuff his way and say, hey man, can you knock out 10 pages like over the next couple of days? You know, we'll pay you your full rate, just do breakdowns. And so, you know, you see a finished comic book as a fan and don't really realize the circumstances of what he was actually hired to do. And you just think of it as, oh, that was a John Buscema book where he didn't care or whatever. It's not that simple, professionally speaking, but clearly he could draw very, very well. And the books where he was the spotlight artist and it was his book, I think, you know, are the ones that you're going to see the money. This is great right here. This is really, really cool. I mean, look at what he puts down is the pencils. Isn't this nuts? I mean, it's literally just like, they almost look like indications of leaves for the lines. And do you see how all of his lines are these crazy? He's really just going in and doing some wild stuff. It's very, very interesting to see. And again, little, you know, just little things that he did. Little drawings. So kick-ass. Tom Palmer's inks. I have some Tom Palmer inks in here for sure, 100%. And again, these are just the prelims. We're just going to go through a few prelims. We'll do another like 10 minutes of prelims, and then we're going to get into finished pages. And that's where hopefully Mr. Kelsey shows up. Kelsey, hurry home, buddy, if you're watching this. We need you on the birthday show. Worst birthday ever. No. Oh, these are cool. These look like little ballpoint pen drawings. I haven't seen a ton of these. Right, Rich is right. Big John could do anything from breakdowns to finished pencils, fill-in pages to complete books. He was a complete team player that could do anything the coach asked him to do. That's kind of what I feel like, and it's, again, working in the business, I've seen it. You know, Kelsey and I kind of joke and call it jobber jobs. Sometimes it's just, you know, they expect things out of you or things get changed, and it's you don't have as much control over everything as you might think. And then, you know, for someone like John, you know, a fast check might have been handy at times. You know, if they're going to pay you $2 or $3 grand to lay out a book for some guy to finish, and it's going to take you a day or two, it might, you know, it might be worth it. You do 2 or 3 of those a day, you're making a pretty good living. I mean, 2 or 3 of those a month, you know. So, you know, and the thing is, and I'm not speaking for John Buscema, because I think that he really took his art quite seriously, but you know, this was commercial artwork for these guys, and as much as we you know, admire it and really kind of put it on a high pedestal, the mentality possibly that some of the artists had in the 60s and 70s was maybe that it wasn't so precious. And in fact, I think I had heard, I'm not saying that was John. This looks like it's signed. I guess it's John. I was going to say this almost looks like Sal. They were a little annoyed by artists like Barry Windsor Smith coming in and spending a ridiculous amount of time on pages, and they actually kind of were threatened by it in a few ways, where they thought, one, you know, what's the point of it? And then two, like, you know, obviously it's going to make everything else off kilter. So I had heard that a long, long time ago. I mean, I'm talking like 15 or 20 years ago. So I don't remember what artist said that. Oh, it's Underground Fights Kelsey's betting on. They're hiding bodies. Swampman. Oh man, this figure is great. Look at this pose right here. I'll pull out a little. It's a little hard to see. This is really cool, man. This guy right here, boy, exciting pose. Oh, this is cool. But, you know, and credit to his inkers and finishers, is you're going to see, I swear to God, there's so many different styles of finishes that they put over John's work. Sometimes you literally will not identify it as John Buscema. The Marie Severin stuff is so different, and it almost looks like ElfQuest art, but it's very, very good. Bill Sienkiewicz over him has got a different vibe. You've got classic guys like Sinnott and Mike Royer, you know, and then all the different, like Tony DeZuniga, Chan, Nestor Redondo, I think there's a bunch. It's really, really cool. This is cool. Silver Surfer, check this out, man. This is some legendary shit. Look at this pose. Nobody does poses like this. Well, Kirby, but man, that's great. On comic tropes, I was trying to check the pronunciation of Buscema's name, and like I said, I was looking up that Stan Lee video, but one of the suggestions was Comic Tropes did a video on John Buscema that said not just a Jack Kirby clone. But I guess, you know, it's before my time collecting comics, but I'm under the impression that maybe that there was a little bit of that thrown on John at times. I'm not 100% sure. If there's older school fans, they might know more about that period of John showing up, I guess, after Kirby. To me, John definitely has a very, very different vibe. Kirby is very distinct. I mean, I definitely see some Kirby and John stuff, and especially earlier in his career, you can see it. But to me, Buscema's got a very, very different vibe. It's, man, it's just the way that he draws women. He's a very, very distinct thing. And, you know, if you're a huge Mark Silvestri fan, I mean, you know, Mark mined Buscema big time. And there's a ton of John Buscema and Mark Silvestri's work. And Mark is a huge, huge favorite of mine. So, you know, you could see that this looks a little like a Mark Silvestri drawing, you know, honestly, it really does. I've seen Mark set up drawings exactly like this. It's crazy, but it's so good. So this, again, looks like the back of a comic board, and just these great sketches. Oh, John Buscema inking over other pencilers? That would be interesting. Yeah, that would actually be very, very cool. Oh, man, look at this. I'll darken this a little bit so we can see it better. Some really, really cool figure drawing sketches on the back of this. Man, this is awesome. So this... You know what? Is this the Peachy folder stuff? Some of these look like Peachy folder drawings. Like this looks like sports athletes. It's funny. Like this looks like javelin. This looks like track. They're great drawings. Man, look at this. I don't know. I can't remember what this one's called, where you throw the big ball. We'll call it chuckin'. Yeah, not a problem. My pleasure. Dude, this is such a great pose, man alive. So this would be good stuff to study for sure. Would be like 60s and 70s athletes. You know, I mean, we have great stuff now, but some of these sports, you know, you might be able to find some cool black and white photos or something that you could riff off of. Although the athletes now are very, very ripped. Man, look at this running pose right here. God, it's good. I hadn't seen this. I don't even remember downloading it, to be 100% honest. I downloaded so many freaking files. It took forever. It's like, I told Dan, I'm like, I would have renamed every file, but it would have took like an extra 4 hours because oh my God, I saved so much shit. This is weird. This almost doesn't feel like John. It's like a little, like it's kind of trippy. It doesn't. It's almost like the anatomy is a little like Bern Hogarthy. I think it is him though, but yeah, it's interesting. It's a little more, well, you know what? I remember this period though, but man, he's really playing with the structure. This almost, it's really wild. It's very rubbery. Yeah. Yeah, these are great. Okay. So we're just going to do a few more prelims and we're going to get into pages, and the pages are going to just, I mean, it's going to be so fun. Look at this. This guy's face is great. I'll darken it a little bit for y'all. There we go. Now you'll be able to see the pencils a little bit better. It's like I hate to zoom in too much, but I know everybody's monitor size is different. I'm on like a huge Cintiq, so it looks gigantic to me, but you know, I don't want to be too far zoomed out where you can't enjoy the details on this. So we'll go nice and slow up this. But man, that is so good. Look at the determination on this guy's eyes. So great. And again, not fussy inking. You can really see, I mean, there's this desire, I think, when people are learning to ink to want to have perfect feathering. But if you look, I mean, he's got lines that are going they curve different ways. Some of them go through, some of them start very high and just kind of melt into each other. As long as the values are what you want, meaning that if you kind of squint your eyes and look back on it, the fade works, then it's a nice blend. If you have dark spots or gaps of line, that's actually more troublesome. I generally would look at my finished pages. I would throw them on the floor at Wildstorm and look at them from sitting with them laying on the floor in front of me. I always did that when I would finish a page, and that was how I could tell if I had done a good job or not. If it didn't read well from like 3.5 feet away, I knew that there was like line weight issues or just things that didn't go right. All right, so look at this one. Oh, look at these. These are cool. And this is very Frazetta. Now, you know, I don't know how huge of a Frazetta fan Buscema was, but I would assume he must have been a pretty big Frazetta fan. But some of the times, yeah, sometimes it won't let me rotate images. I don't know why that is. I wanted to see this one sideways. Or you know what I could do? Let me do this. We'll see. I'll save this one and see if I can rotate it then. These are great though, man. We looked a little closer at how he does the backs of legs yesterday and how these inserted lines really create like a really nice sense of form. Look at this guy squatting. Squatting poses are difficult and he does them very, very well. And this guy is awesome looking. Look at this. He draws such good kneecaps, like the leg and the knee, and then these just Buscema lower legs. It's the best. I love it. I wonder if John's legs look like that. Kind of like a little bow-legged and just really, really powerful calves. Unlock the layer. Oh, is that what it is? Oh, okay. I could copy it. Then rotate it. I'll try it. What if I do that? I think it's sometimes my RAM gets taxed out anyway. All right, so let's get to pages. We've looked at enough prelims. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this stuff. So anyway, these are kind of cool. These are from like the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. I don't know if these are the exact drawings. I didn't look through the whole book recently, but definitely these look like they were possibly done around that time as examples in the book. So I thought those were kind of fun. You can actually see a little blue pencil on these, which I don't notice on most of his work. So he was being a little more disciplined with these, probably because they were for study. Okay. More page prelims, but we're going to get to, and again, you can find all this stuff on Heritage. If you're a big Buscema fan, I mean, I would definitely go to ha.com and, yeah, just dig around. This is great. Man, that's so good. Did Buscema ever work on Doctor Strange? I'm not 100% sure of that era of Doctor Strange, but it seems like it would be a pretty good book for him. I don't know if Buscema was an athlete like Frazetta. I'm not sure. I had never heard that about him. As far as I know, he really kind of just worked very, very hard as an artist. So, oh yeah, that was a cool piece. Let's shoot. There was one that was definitely looked like it was inspired by Frank. That's funny. So, okay, we'll just ship those to these. Okay, let's do this. We are going to go to, well, let's do this. This is where we're going to start to see all the finished stuff. So I'm going to start with these. These are what I would consider the expensive pages, meaning that the way that the files were saved, they kind of go from $100 interior pages to like money shop pages. So we're going to look at some covers and splashes and kind of, again, like sort of the expensive stuff. Then we'll get into more interiors and stuff like that. So some of these I may not know who the inker is, and then some I'll be able to tell you based on the JPEG name. So I tried to mark a few. This will be really good. So I'll catch up with the chat here really quick. I have a vague memory of John doing some Doctor Strange work in the 70s. Okay. Oh, doubtful. Yeah, no, I know the shortcut is R. What happens is if I open too many files, it won't let me rotate it. I was actually using, I have my own shortcut for it. I certainly have, that's how I learned to be pro. Okay. Sal is a betweener of John and Kirby. I could see that. Mignola is very Sal too. Okay, that's interesting. Oh my God, these pieces are so good. Okay. That's weird. Wow, that's odd. Oh, let me just get these. Sorry, I think I tried to open too many files. Just give it 1 sec. Photoshop is a little bitch sometimes too. Oh, Vince Coletta inks some of this stuff too. He's always very controversial with people. People get mad at his work on Kirby. Sorry, I have to like let the other files that didn't want to open sort of do the thing. All right, so I guess there's a few prelims in here, but anyway, this is a nice one. So this looks like a Silver Surfer cover. We've got Galactus, and I'm not 100% sure who this villain is right here. So it's pretty interesting. Was this a used cover? Does anyone know? I don't know all of these issues that well. They're very expensive. I'm slowly trying to like cobble together at least a low grade collection of some of the Silver Age Marvel stuff. But was this ever used as a cover? Right. I know Adobe. I know. Trust me, I know. All right. So this is a Thor page, and this is Vince Coletta ink. So Coletta is notorious for like leaving out detail and all these things. Sometimes, though, I will say this, Vince Coletta, I have seen many pages that he's inked that look quite nice. So although he probably had some issues at times, the guy clearly had some skill. So, you know, that's probably controversial to say, because I would say that most people are like, oh my God, it's terrible, but this is a nice page. You know, sorry, the inks are decent on it. It's not great. All right, so this is another prelim. There's a few in here, but these we hadn't seen. So this is a Silver Surfer cover, I guess, prelim. You know, honestly, John could probably ink this. He'd tighten it up a little bit, like maybe the building or something like that. But it wouldn't shock me if he could probably knock this out and ink it. There's enough information there to do it. Cars and stuff like that. You could sketch a little before you start them. So this is another Thor page. This is nice inks. This is really, really good. I don't know on this one. I don't have it listed who it is. I'm going to say that this possibly could be Senator Royer or maybe John himself. But these are pretty slick inks. If anyone knows, Coletta was a lazy inker. Yeah, right. Okay, thanks, Peter. See you later. Yeah, no, I'm not a huge Vince Coletta fan, to be clear. I'm just saying that, like, I've seen pieces that he's inked that are fine, and then ones that aren't. And especially if you compare it to like Kirby's pencils. Yeah, this is nice inks. I bet Silver Age fans could figure out who this is. This to me, like I said, reminds me of maybe something that Royer or Sennett would do. I don't know their styles super well, but these look like pretty nice inks. And this does have a little bit of a Kirby feel to it. I mean, I could definitely see that. Okay, so this, man, tough call who inked it. Let's see if it's listed. Yeah, I don't know who this is. Maybe some of you will know this particular piece. But, man, again, look at how different this is than anything that we've seen so far. I mean, they were definitely channeling You know, Franklin Booth, Joseph Clement Cole, probably Frazetta. I don't know if Bernie Wrightson was doing the Frankenstein stuff yet, but, you know, you could definitely see a real, you know, it could be Gustave Doré. But, yeah, this is some psycho stuff. To be clear, John didn't put in all this detail. This is whoever finished this piece. Any ideas? Oh, this is a Kala. Okay, thank you. It looks like a Kala. I actually really love what Tony D. Zuniga does on his work. He really gives it a neat look too. I was really enjoying that. But man, this is great. And most of these finishers that we're working on, John, were excellent artists in their own right, which is why they were able to bring something like this. So this is Jim Mooney did the inks on this. I thought that this was pretty cool too. And, you know, I'm not 100% sure that if I just saw this and someone said, Rich, guess who this is? I would guess Buscema. But I think it's actually very cool. They've got some pretty interesting techniques here. Like he went in with white paint and created that almost like the effect that you get with like a razor blade where they scratch, that sort of stipple look in it. But I thought that this was pretty cool. It's, you know, very high contrast. And it's signed by Jim Mooney. Yeah, Jim Mooney is great. I think this is really nice. Really nice. We'll zoom in a little bit more and really soak it in. Now, did John do a run on Spider-Man? That's another thing that I don't know. I have a few of the Marvel Silver Age Spider-Mans, but not many. Maybe 10 or 20. I'm scared to open some of them, too, because they're so expensive. If they're in decent grade, you don't even want to touch them. So here we go. This is Marvel's Greatest Comics with Silver Surfer. Now, so the cataclysmic coming of the Silver Surfer. Let me know, is this I'm a little confused. Okay, so was this after the Silver Surfer singular issues? 30, it's a 20 center, so it would be, I think. So this must have been like volume 2. And this might have been its own series. Like Marvel's Greatest Comics might have been a series, because it says Fantastic Four. I'm just checking the chat really quick. Oh, these are reprints? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And then they did new covers on them. This is a nice cover. Look at his Ben Grimm. The Thing doesn't get much love. He's a unique little drawing problem to solve. I always appreciate, I have to say this, it is funny, because I always find it interesting when I see an artist, even to this day, take a stab at Ben Grimm, because, you know, boy, you're either going to do them sort of the quote-unquote right way, or you're going to have to come up with something pretty interesting to make it work. And these are expensive originals. Oh, this is cool. So this is a Doc Savage cover. Man, this is kick-ass. So let's zoom in on this. Doc Savage #1, 20 center from Marvel Comics. So this 20 centers would have been 67-ish, 66. Is that about right? Neil Adams never drew The Thing well. Okay. Let me know what year 20 centers were, if anyone knows. I don't know when the 20 cent price point came in. So it went 12, 15, 20, I believe. It's really cool. It's a little looser inks. I didn't mark who this one was. Was getting towards the end here. I had already been downloading stuff for like 6 hours, so I was getting a little beat up. Oh man, look at this. Submariner. I forgot that he did these Submariner covers. Now this might be, is this Buscema's inks on himself? Or did they have an inker on him for man, this is a great piece. Oh, let me check my phone. Is K-Man around? Hold on. Oh, no, it's birthday wishes. Nice, but not as nice as Kelsey. So Submariner, Prince Namor, Submariner, and this is a 15 center. So 73, 74 was when 20 centers came in. Okay. Oh, Sal inked this? Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, this is great. I think Marvel had such great letterers, like the logos and stuff like that were so badass. And it's interesting is some of these covers you'll actually see they have layovers where uh you can actually there'll be multiple scans of it, but this is all like paste ups. It's held up well and hasn't discolored the art much, which is always nice. Love the feet. Okay. Like I said, I've got a ton. So this is Thor 197. I'm not 100% sure who inked this. Someone may know in the chat. This is rougher. I mean, you could definitely see that this has got more of a hand-drawn sort of look, and the eyes are kind of messed up. I noticed it up here and didn't say anything, but if you look, like, look at Thor's eyes, like how one is sort of in a shadowy pocket and the other isn't. Some of this is nice, though. Like, this actually looks really good. This guy's profile looks quite nice, and this looks pretty good, but you can kind of tell that they're a little rushed on this. But her face, too, if you zoom in on the eyes, you'll see her eyes really aren't inked very consistently. Again, there's this kind of darker sort of shadow thing going on. And granted, you can light a face that way, but the faces aren't working. It's off a little. No, it's not necessarily John's fault, to be clear. I like this, though. This is very, very cool. He does great. It's funny like as a kid, I was a big fan of Scooby-Doo, but this reminds me of like Scooby-Doo art, you know, like the villains and stuff like that. Coletta inked this. Okay. Thank you. The chat is my Kelsey today. All right, let's keep going. All right, so this probably is another Coletta page. I like this character right here. It looks very, very cool, though. Or these sort of I don't know what they call these guys. Keepers, maybe? Yeah, they're very, very cool. We'll keep hustling, though, because these are nice, but I actually like, I can see a little Mignola in this. I could see Mignola being maybe a fan of some of this Buscema stuff. Looks like early Mignola, a little tiny bit. Okay, this is more Thor. I love the way he draws girls' faces. They're cute, but they also have kind of a sort of a slightly exotic sort of vibe to them. Very, very cool. Yeah, these inks are a little rough. This looks like a job that needed to get out the door. I don't know what the shipping schedule was like on Thor, but they might have been tight on time. Eyes can be tricky to ink, especially as if you don't have good eyes, meaning like you can't see well, they could be real hard because they're tiny. And this is more Thor. This is interesting that there's so many Thor pages in a row. Again, this is looser inks than we're going to see on some of the stuff. The line weights are a little sort of inconsistent too. It looks this looks jobbish. I love the little notes underneath, because remember, they were working from Marvel style scripts at this point, so odds are John was actually probably blocking out these pages and even throws in little sort of like text ideas. So like down here it says, as he gasps for breath, past events by, float by maybe. And so, then it's up to the writer, Stan, or whoever was putting the dialogue in to possibly keep some of that idea in or not. Kirby put a lot of notes around his pages at times too. You would see that if you see original art. More Thor. Oh, you know what this is I think this was a complete issue. That's what it was. It was all of Thor 197. Okay. Interesting. So we'll get to some other stuff real quick. These are nice, but let's just hustle for a second. I just want to be careful not to shut something that isn't. Yeah, so it's got Vince Coletta was the inker on this, and John was the artist, Stanley editor, Jerry Conway was the scripter. Okay, and then this is the cover for the comic we were just looking at. Thor 197. Yeah, man, it's so good. I actually have become a huge fan of the coloring on these old covers. And as much as I like contemporary, we've seen some of these sketches. As much as I'm a fan of contemporary coloring, there is something pretty magical. I'm just going to scoot through these because this is all from the same issue. I have hundreds of files saved, so let's get to some variety. I forgot that I had grabbed the whole issue. So it was a big comic too. Oh, here we go. So this is not the original Silver Surfer #1 cover. This is a recreation that he did later. I didn't realize that when I had originally seen it, but still very, very cool. He did recreations of 3 or 4 of the Silver Surfer covers, but yeah, I'm nearly sure that this is not the OG. It's still really, really cool. It's funny, like how they put in the stars with just these big dots of white. It works though, like in the overall composition, because he's using the Kirby crackle as kind of a size determiner. If he put finer, thin splatter, it would sort of lose the boldness of the piece, because there's nothing really that fine. You know what I mean? Like even the details on the planet below aren't super tiny lines, so he keeps everything kind of to scale. That's pretty interesting. So here is Thor 206 cover. Or is this a splash? No, this is a cover. Sorry. It's always interesting too, as you can see that this was fully whited out. I wasn't sure if it was. This almost looks like a cutout. They may have inked this on another sheet of paper and then pasted this down. I'm almost getting the impression that this is pasted down. I could be off on that. This is white out over here though. The power of the absorbing man. That's pretty cool. Okay. Just checking the chat really quick. Kelsey is helping his brother. His brother needed a ride somewhere across town, and I think he's with his brother. So, well, I'm keeping an eye on the chat. If he gets home, I think he'd hop on. He really was excited to do this. That's the sad thing is if I would have been able to shift gears quicker, I would have done something else. But Kelsey and I can always return to this. The thing is that we're never ever going to get through all the files that I have. We'll go for like another 45 minutes, but there'll still literally probably be 500 pages of art that we're not going to see. So, oh man, this is cool. So this is the Avengers #55 cover, and this is the original art. So this is the original piece. Yeah, not a problem at all. We really enjoy spending time with you. I say we because, you know, obviously I prefer to do these with Kelsey now. It's especially the streams. I just think that there's chemistry and camaraderie, and he adds so much to the conversation, you know. So that's why I love Kelsey on the show. This guy's face is funny. It's a little wonky. Like it almost like it looks like a cutout again, like where yeah, I think this is. So it looks to me, you can see this is a paste up. So however John originally drew this character's face, this may not even be John's pencils. In fact, this could be a bullpen stat, meaning that just someone that's on the premises at Marvel fixed it for him. And this looks like it was switched out too. I see tape and also cut things. They were savages with this stuff, you know. I mentioned in a past video or live stream that I had an editor that worked at Wildstorm that was from either the classic era of Marvel or DC, and he would even do stats himself sometimes. Like if he felt the penciler had messed up, he would actually go in and redraw and ink things, not on the original art, but like a stat, and do it himself. So everybody sort of pitched in back in the days. This is a great one. Yeah, I'll pull out a little so we can soak it in. I think I used this for one of my little teaser images for the video, color version of it. And the colors on this are actually quite nice. So just classic stuff. I love, look at Hulk's toes. And again, these classic lower John Buscema legs and feet. I love that. It's my favorite way to draw feet. Big, wide, if they're coming towards you, they've got a big, wide kind of foot to it. I just think it looks so cool. Now, do we know who inked this one? These files aren't labeled, so I don't know. Is this John Buscema on John? They even did it to Neil Adams. Yeah, you know, I mean, if something wasn't right, well, the thing is too, you have to understand that like, imagine if you didn't have reference for like Iron Man's helmet, and through the whole issue you drew his helmet wrong because you had an idea of what it looked like, but you didn't realize there was a bolt or something that was missing. You know, they may have to go in and fix every single version of it. So this is a Fantastic Four 107 cover. Again, this is the original art scan of it. But again, we're seeing this leg right here has been fixed quite a bit. There's a lot of whiteout on it. So I don't know if maybe the way that they indicated Thing, you know, Ben Grimm transforming into Thing, they didn't like the detail on it, but they clearly fixed this whole entire leg. I always find it interesting when they put lines this heavy on a part of the body. It works though. If we zoom out and look at it at approximately like comic book size, although that line is very thick, it doesn't really stand out as much as you might think. I mean, it kind of works. I think my only problem with it is right in here. I would probably have pulled it out just a little bit more, but past that, I think it works, you know. But anyway, but this looks like, do we know who inked this? How would you rank John Buscema, Kirby, and Romita Sr.? I mean, they're all great. I mean, it's to try to put them in a 1, 2, 3 spot, I don't even think is necessary. It's, you know, like they're all really good for their own reasons. I love Jack Kirby stuff, and look, I'll be honest. Like when I first started collecting comics in the '90s, I didn't dislike Jack's stuff, but you know, it was not really my thing. I'd seen a little bit of the stuff that he was doing for Image, you know, like, you know, they were throwing him some jobs and stuff like that. Over the last 20 years, though, I'm a huge Jack Kirby fan. I love Jack's work. Buscema, I already kind of understood. John Romita Sr., I've seen the least of. I don't know his work as well as the other two. So, now I don't know who inked this. This is Thor 221 cover, so this may all be Coletta again. It's definitely got a rougher vibe when Coletta gets into it. Joe Sinnott's inks on FF ran at this point. It was all Sinnott except for Vacations. Yeah. Yeah, this is a nice Thor cover. Whoo, whoo, whoo. It's interesting how much the paper yellowed on this one compared to some of the others. I don't know if it was the way it was stored or what, or if it was a different stock paper, but it is interesting to see these old originals and see what kind of condition they're in. Sometimes the glue, you can see here, the glue really yellowed, and where it slid, you actually can see where it was originally pasted down. This word balloon is obviously was moved at some point, or when they originally glued it down, there was a little bit of overflow, but luckily it didn't really completely like tarnish the full piece. Thou hast dared to challenge Hercules. That's a nice Hercules too. He's really cool. Okay, let's continue, friends. Ooh, Conan. This is a nice one. Man, the inks on this are great. Now, this may be John inking himself. Let's see. Do I have it labeled? No, not these. No. Let's see. It's so weird that John didn't sign a lot of his covers. I mean, he did at times, but this is another piece that's not signed. Kirby put an exclamation point on everything. Buscema put a cat pee. No. Oh, cat pee. Was cat pee on the art? This is cool. Ah, man. Again, another great logo. You can't deny that Marvel back in the heyday, boy, they had great logos. They're so iconic. I don't know if it's that just we're familiar with them so long, but this is a great logo. I like the little box with the art in it. It all looks good. Okay, so here's a Silver Surfer Spider-Man page. Interesting. We'll zoom in on this. Now, is this Buscema over himself? A ... Oh, I see. Yeah, did Buscema ink himself on this? Let me know in the comments. This looks like Buscema inks to me, but I could be off. I don't know what issue this is from. It's nice inks for the style. Definitely. Okay, here we go. Fantastic Four. This is Fantastic Four 120. It's a 20 center. So this is probably from 1973 or 1974. And from the dark reaches of nowhere, here comes the Airwalker. Apparently, he walks on air. And he dresses a little bit like a knight, but also likes to wear a skirt. Hey, who's this right here? Is this someone? Is this John? This almost looks like Buscema right here. A young Buscema. I think that's John drawn himself. I actually do. Unless it's Sal. Herald of Galactus. Airwalker was such a cool looking character. Yeah, no, it is. He's got almost like a King Arthur sort of vibe to him a little bit. Okay, so here's a Conan cover. This definitely looks like it had finishes done on it a bit. You can see the structure of the face is not classic Buscema. The inks are actually quite nice on this, though. They're actually really, really good. But it really changed the style. It's much hairier. All the lines have a very, very kind of organic sort of vibe to it. It's pretty interesting, though. I'm not crazy about the aesthetic of the face on Conan as much as John's classic face, but the inks overall are actually quite good. Yeah, this is some pretty nice stuff. It's interesting how pointy the lines are. Let me zoom out a little bit for you guys so you can see this. And again, just the beautiful Conan logo. So iconic. Oh, here's another nice Conan cover. And again, very different inks. This is definitely not the same person. And this is Bob Layton. Interesting. So this is Bob Layton inks on this one. We'll go slow and kind of scan the whole thing. And this guy is just looking like he's getting trashed. Is this Ernie Chan, you think? Or no, well, this, oh, the other piece was Ernie Chan. It could have been Ernie Chan. That's definitely possible. So here's an Avengers cover. Early Iron Man. It's funny. He does really good fight scenes. The fact that he's able to squeeze all these characters in and pick all these different positions for them is really, really impressive. You know, he definitely doesn't take the easy way out. There's a lot of overlapping going on with body parts and stuff like that. Stuff like this is tricky, man. It's not easy to do. And, you know, having a character standing here, another guy flying into the scene, you've got arms overlapping here, and then more characters moving back. It's a lot to orchestrate. And then he even brings them up closer here, all the way to just a guy's head getting punched. Really, really nice. Oh, this is cool. I like this piece a lot. So this looks to be a 2-page spread, or maybe some sort of like little pinup that went in a book. Man, this is classic. Can see a little bit of more of the Jack Kirby vibe. So definitely on Thor, he had more Jack Kirby in his work than I think any other period that I've seen, because it definitely feels like a blend of Kirby and John Buscema, which is actually very cool looking. I like it actually quite a bit. It was interesting. I was looking at some Keith Giffen a couple of nights ago, and Keith Giffen actually can do some really, really great Kirby-esque work also. I was really, really impressed by what he was doing, and Keith Giffen is just a great artist all around. Yes, this is very Kirby. It's funny. You think this is Tom Palmer inks? It could be. More of the files in the other folder that I'm going to go through are listed. Like I said, this was towards the end of me saving files after about 6 hours. I was kind of getting burnt and just wanted to get done. But these were all the good ones. I started at about $150 originals and worked my way forward to more and more expensive pieces through Heritage. So it was a lot of work. It took all day, basically. That's how much prep I put into this video. Really, really great Thor. So this is Mighty Thor 370. We're talking now, I don't even know, was that 150 issues later? I know he didn't draw them all, but this is quite a ways away. 75 center, too. He's still drawing like a badass. And again, he doesn't get fussy with his space. It is actually quite interesting to see that he keeps it to Kirby Crackle and then very, very large white stars. I kind of like that. I'm going to have to do a lot of space in the next 3 issues of Crystal Planet. And I might kind of go for that. It's always tempting to want to do splatter and like fine stars, more like galaxies. But I don't know. I think this just looks more bold. It's just got more of a presence. Oh, thank you, Sheldon. I really appreciate it. Yeah, no problem. I appreciate the happy birthday wish too. I really, really do. Yeah, not a problem at all. Like I said, I was real nervous trying to do this on my own. I'm not real good at like live stream solo. It's like a little sketchy, but it's going fine. You know, Kelsey would have added a lot to the convo. That's for sure. It would have been good because he's a big Buscema fan, so he would have carried a lot of weight. These are beautiful, beautiful inks. I don't know who did this, but this is really, really nice. I like this a lot. Again, the face, though, you know, these different inkers, they really get kind of a different character to the face. Like here, Conan looks, you know, like a little more pleasant than John's. You know, John always does a very dark. There's a darkness around the eyes, but man, the inks on the hair are great, and I love like what he's doing on the arm, and all this is really, really good. Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I feel like I'm rushing a little bit, and then I feel like I'm, you know, like you. It's like as you're moving through more images, you're like, oh man, maybe they're getting bored. So this is interesting. It's that real. So I don't know what year would this have been. So this is a 50 center, 1980. So gosh, what year did Bernie Wrightson do Frankenstein? Did that come out in the 70s or was that early 80s? Because that would be interesting to know if like Wrightson's Frankenstein was out. I mean, I know that Wrightson got his influences from other places, but you know that different inkers that worked on John definitely were fans of Wrightson and probably wanted to try some of those techniques on you know John, especially if you're doing finishes. That's not his inks, okay? Oh, is that what it is? It's a 1,000-yard stare with John's faces. They just look tough. Like, look at this face. This just looks like a tough guy. They all look like they're like maybe like Spanish and that they could really kill you as much as want to look at you. Like, it's like, are you worth the bother or should I just beat your ass now? Man, this is a great piece. He does a nice Captain America. I like that actually a lot. He looks chunky and he's not having a good day. 2 Avengers down and 4 to go. This is the day of the man-ape. These characters are so wild. It was funny because I wanted to ask this, but I Twitter is weird. Twitter, people don't really like to conversate about fun stuff. So like if you ask like a fun question, everybody's like, really? You're gonna ask that? But I didn't really understand how the Marvel universe evolved, and I was curious of like, so who were the first super human people in the Marvel universe? So if we're on Earth, who existed on Earth that became a superhero first? Is it the Fantastic Four? And then how did all the mutants, like, you know what I mean? It's a long thing to answer, but I would love to know if there's a video on how the Marvel universe all unfolded and all the different characters came to Earth and became, you know, part of that thing. I thought it would be kind of interesting. I'm just curious as someone who's creating my own comics, you know, like the world building involved. It seemed interesting. Fantastic Four was the first. Submariner. Oh yeah, you know, I think Submariner might have been actually is It's so really, so it's interesting. So the first sort of crazy superhero lived beneath the sea. I like that. That's awesome. I have some ocean stuff, and the Great Game is the other comic that I want to do after Blaster Kid. And Great Game, part of it takes place in like a seacoast village. A lot of my dad's friends when I was growing up were fishermen, so I kind of grew up. I literally grew up across the street from the Pacific Ocean. It was like half a block away from my house. Not even that. Just I crossed the street and it was there. Yeah. Oh, here we go. So this is a very, very kick-ass Wolverine. Now, I never understood what this lighting thing that he would do around the eyes on Wolverine was. Sometimes this hatch there, was there a reason for this? Does anyone know? Was it like a character thing, or was it just some technique that he decided to try? I never got that. But man, the inks on this is so badass. Oh, it's so good. They were doing a lot of drugs back then. Okay, cool. Thank you guys. I appreciate the feedback on it. But yeah, it's funny. I love the fact that he whatever he did here with the arm, he was like, nope, it's not going to work. And he just went in and knocked it out and then re-rendered it, and it looks great. It's so tempting for me to want to do this and get it to where it all looks white though. But you know, it loses a little bit of the pizzazz when you do that. I mean, there's something about the color of the paper affecting it that makes it more readable. But yeah, these are really, really terrific inks, man. And this, you know, Dan Green actually did ink John Buscema too. There, I definitely have some Dan Green pieces. Not saying that Dan did this, but I mean, again, it's one of those things where you could definitely feel a little bit of the crossover between Silvestri and Dan Green and something like this for sure. It's a mask. Okay. It's got like a lacy quality that kind of makes it weird. So this is definitely one of the classic Marvel inkers. You can just see it's got a slick, bold feeling. No nonsense. Definitely not Coletta, unless it's Coletta on a real good day. Although these faces, this again looks a little Jack Kirby-ish. I mean, you can definitely feel that there might have been some pressure to sort of like, hey, look, Jack's our big guy. You know, can you bring in some of that aesthetic? This is a great pose, the Silver Surfer, though. I love the lean on his body is awesome. Not a lot of detail on this Galactus. It's a little sparse. Maybe Klaus Janson inks on that. Klaus does some really interesting stuff. I definitely have a bunch of Klaus Janson pages, so we'll get to those. So here's another beautiful, beautiful Silver Surfer page. Man, that panel is so good. Yeah, that is nice. And this too. Look at this. Claudio Castellini. I know a lot of people love Claudio's stuff. At some point, I'll do his Silver Surfer book, but you know, now KFAB will do it this week. If I think of something and don't do it, I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, they'll do it within a few days. It's either a very weird coincidence or something else is going on. But anyway, I will do the Claudio Castellini book, and you'll get my impressions on Claudio Castellini's Silver Surfer, which is excellent. And Claudio was definitely a big Buscema fan for sure. So, oh, look at this. Ooh, oh my God, look at that. Mephisto. That was Senate. Okay, thank you. So this is incredible. Oh my gosh, man, this is like, I like this look on Buscema. This has got a little bit of a Kelsey vibe too. Damn, what comic is this from? I don't know the book, but man, whoever inked this and whatever story this is badass. Did they did it yesterday? Last week, well, right after I announced that I was doing Buscema, the next day they did a John Buscema video. So that was, like I said, it was a little bit of a weird coincidence, but it's happened many times, so I'm kind of used to it now. This is Mephisto's first appearance. Oh my god, these pages are amazing. So what is this? What comic book is this, guys? Is this let me know. I got to get this. This is a good one. Man. Oh, this is so badass. I don't know if people don't necessarily like this in the States. I mean, I think what ends up happening is if you're a lifer, like if you're someone who's been a fan of comics for a long time, and I'm not saying that you necessarily came up on this stuff, but I think that the longer that you're interested in comics, the more you start to appreciate the origins of it. And so once you hit about being a fan for 10 or 15 years, you start to look past, like, you know, no offense, because J. Scott Campbell's a friend of mine, but it's like, you know, like Jace, you know, it's like you know, J. Scott Campbell and Peach Momoko and all these variant covers. You start going like, well, where did all this stuff come from? And then it's like you're looking at Jack Kirby and you're looking at Buscema and you're getting interested in John Romita Sr. and you're checking out Sal Buscema and, you know, Ernie Colin and all these different old school guys. And then, you know, moving even into the John Byrne era and stuff like that, you know, your appreciation deepens and you kind of want to see more. So that's from the Magic Limited series. I'm gonna have to look that. Oh, so these sketches we already saw. These were the athletes. So this is Vinny Coletta inks. Let's see how he did. Vinny, did you bring it or were you lazy this day? No, poor Vinny. He's like, hey, I just gotta get the job in, man. He never knew. Vince Coletta never knew that there was going to be an internet. All right, what do we got here? Conan and some baboons. Baboons are ferocious. I wouldn't want to mess with a bunch of baboons. Or a guy wearing a loincloth and a cat head on him. This is pretty cool. So, okay, we're going to go into the other folder in a second. Oh my God, look at this cover. Holy shit. I did not see this one. Wow, what is going on here? This is like a Michael Golden piece. We'll go through this one slow. Let's let me zoom in on this. Man, this cover is nuts. Hold on. So we'll look at it. We'll pan it one time really quick. Now this is, I don't know who inked this, but you can see the structure. They definitely draw a little different than John. So the aesthetic of the faces is a little different than his classic look, but it is very, very nicely done. Wow, this cover is crazy. I really wish that he would have signed the covers. It's kind of a shame. I don't know if they just didn't do it back then or what. This is this? Oh, this is Charles Vess. Interesting. So, is this Charles Vess inks or? Let me know in the comment section if anyone knows who inked this particular one. It looks like Charles Vess. Okay, thank you, Hans. That's interesting. I always think of Charles Vess as like him, you know, like an illustrator that did his own stuff. The face is cute. Like, I mean, she's got like an attractive face. I like it. It just doesn't feel like a Buscema girl to me. It's funny because some of this reminds me a little bit of Laniel Yu in a weird way. Like when Laniel inks himself. It's funny. Not exactly, not a one for one, but just it's like, you know, and it is interesting that Charles Vess is actually a penciler because this is kind of like, to me, this looks more like penciler inks, if that makes sense. Inkers are more fussy generally. So, okay. Oh, this is cool. So this is just the color version of this, but we'll look at the actual file in a second. But I do like these old colors. There's something to it that I've really kind of grown fond of. You know, it looks nothing like what we're used to today, but I don't know. It's kind of cool. So here is the OG. Beautiful, beautiful piece. And again, perfect thing. I mean, this is what the thing should look like. Or at least this is a good version of the thing. Oh, the connection to Lanil. Yeah, it reminded me of Lanil right away. Funny enough, it was the second I saw it, I was like, that looks a little like a Lanil U piece. But you know, Lanil is a good inker, but I do, when I look at his stuff, it looks like a penciler inking himself more than an inker. There's just a little slightly different vibe to you know, it's like a different finish that professional inkers kind of bring. So, you know, most of the time fans, though, honestly, knowledgeable fans will at some point generally gravitate towards that they like the penciler inking themselves the best. So it's just one of those things. But this is real nice. Man, what a great piece. Beauty. This is just the same thing again. Okay, so this is more Silver Surfer. It was interesting too. So there's a story that I don't remember the order of it, but I think that they did a few issues of Silver Surfer, and then they actually dropped out the detail on his body, where the actual metallic shine that they were using on him was not put on the original art. And so if you see, I think the artist edition of the IDW book, there's a point where a lot of the black on his body drops out, and they did it. I don't know if they did it in color or on like another layer. Oh, did Vince Coletta ink the Avengers 44 cover? Okay. Yeah, well, you know, and it's funny too, talking about pencilers not inking like inkers. I was helping a young artist yesterday. She's 18. She's not like a kid, but anyway, she's learning to ink. And I found myself, I hadn't really showed inking techniques in a while. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, you don't ink like you used to. Not in a bad way, but it was funny as I found myself not worried about the lines that the penciler put down. And I was just like, I would do it like this, and so I just went right over. It was not original pencils, but it was funny that I completely disregarded, like, you know, oh, he's got 5 lines here, and the feathering is this. I'm like, I know what I would do, and I just went in and did it. Your little inking buddy Rich is growing up. He's not just a tracer anymore. No. All right, we got to get to the other Conan stuff. So here, let's do this. This stuff is all really cool, but we have to get to all these other inkers. We would be doing ourselves a huge disservice if we didn't start seeing some of this. So this is a Buscema inking Buscema piece, but we're gonna get into like all the Conan stuff, all the big variety, because we're hitting too much of the same stock. So we'll go another half hour. We'll go to like a little past 12:30. I ain't got nothing to do. It's my birthday. If I want to look at Buscema with a bunch of you, I'm going to do it. The only thing I'm going to do after this is actually try to organize more of my comic collection. This is really nice. It's funny because this actually has a little bit of that hairy feel that I was talking about on that other piece, which is interesting because it makes me wonder if that other piece was inked by John. Because this is very, very similar, where it's a very hatchy, almost like coarse feather. Hold on, I gotta see. There was the thing. Yeah, Kevin Nolan. Yeah, no, Kevin Nolan. He's a great artist and inker. Kevin has a very, very definitive style. Kevin definitely, they call it Nolanizes, but he Nolanizes a lot of the stuff that he works on. So it's like, and in fact, there's a bunch of John Buscema stuff that I have inked by Kevin Nolan that we're going to see. And it's very, very nice, but you can definitely see the Kevin Nolan effect on it. And this is very Frazetta. This is right out of a Frazetta painting. This right here, this guy getting choked. And some of this too. Oh man, I love these guys looking back is such a nice touch. And it's something that I don't know if I would have thought of, but now that I'm seeing it, it's like, yeah, you know, if you've got a big fight scene and the action is going on here, it is okay to turn a character towards the camera, even though, you know, rationally thinking, you know, you wouldn't be turning your back on Conan, but he's probably calling more people to come kick Conan's ass. We need more men. Let's go, guys. Come on, don't be pussies. Step up. Conan's making fast work of your pals. All right, let's go. Okay, let's see this. Doc Ock. Can't go wrong with Doc Ock. Now, this is interesting. I don't know, again, if this is one of those pieces that I would know as Buscema. His Spider-Man head is very, very round. How would you go about not obsessing with line quality when drawing digitally? because they look great, but when you zoom in, the lines crumble, but zoomed out, it all works. Well, remember, art is reduced in size. So the thing is um, this stuff will look tighter, shrunk down. I mean, your comic is basically 8.5 by 11, give or take a little dimension. But these originals, some of them are 11 by 17. Some of them are even bigger. They might be like 12 by 16 or 14 by 17, something like that. And you know, shrunk down, it's going to all tighten up. And to be quite honest, digital inks can look very anemic, and I call it pixel perfect, and pixel perfect is not very interesting. And the technique that you see all digital inkers using trying to blend it in is texture brushes. But the problem is the textures are all repetitive patterns, and the splatter brushes are all repetitive patterns. So they're just trying to blend in a sterility, blend in over a sterility. I don't honestly think the digital, I don't think the digital for comics, it'll stick around. It won't be it's not going to be the preferred thing. I actually thought, and believe me, I'm not like a traditional purist, but the writing's on the wall for digital. It's easier to do, but I personally don't think that most artists are going back to traditional for a multitude of reasons, but it just looks, traditional art, it kind of does look better. You know, it's hard to explain, but it's like you can mess around. And look, I think Jorge Jimenez is great. There's a whole bunch of people that do killer work digitally, but it's just, it doesn't have, there's not a it lacks the character of traditional art. That's just my opinion. I still think that there's great stuff out there that's digital. So this is going to be fun. We're going to see a very wide variety of uh inkers on this stuff. I don't know. Photoshop is being a pain in the ass. But look, if you work digitally, just go for it. There's nothing wrong with working digitally at all. And in fact, you know, it's very handy, and you can do some great looking stuff with it. But you know, if you're using like buildings and stuff like that, I was looking at something the other day, and it was someone that generally is a traditional artist, and they had done a lot of their buildings digitally. It just looked weird. The lines just have no character. Fucking thing, man. Conan the Rogue is some of Buscema's best work in the book. He handled the art all himself. Yeah. No, I love digital art. That's the thing is like I've said for a long time, I'm a huge fan of digital painting, concept art, all that stuff. I mean, I think it's amazing. And again, I'm a big fan of Jorge Jimenez. I think the guy is a genius. Adam Hughes is brilliant working digitally. So there's people that do great work with it. Although Adam generally will have an original underneath. Okay, so we've seen this piece. All right, so this is actually pretty interesting. This is the original thumbnail to Wolverine looks like number 6 cover. So I was checking this out the other night. This is actually really interesting. So what's fun about this is looking at how the finished cover is. Did the original cover open? I'm gonna do this really quick. I'm gonna grab the original cover. This bridge is not doing the trick for me. Let me see this really quick. I'm gonna grab. But yeah, you know, I mean, you're gonna want to be a really good artist to make digital where you own it. You need as much of you as possible in the digital art, and things like pre-ruled lines. Perspective starts to look stiff. There's a lot of issues with it. It's one of those things where you have to, I think, have a familiarity with both to be able to spot it. What the fuck? This is really weird. My computer is tripping a little bit. So I'm just trying to find the finished cover of that. I think what happened was some of these files they weren't done saving when I was downloading them, and I shut them before that they were done. I didn't realize it. Let me just see. I'm just trying to find that cover. So some of these files I'm gonna have to go back and get. Ugh, that's not good. All right, anyway, I did have a finished version of this cover, but it is interesting to see actually how he laid out this piece. But all right, let's get into the Conan and stuff like this. So this is Tony Zuniga, and this guy is such a badass. He puts these very cool textures on these pieces. Why is this a grayscale file? Sorry, let me just check this really quick. Huh, that's weird. Right. Seven said he thinks that the problem with digital inks is a lack of spontaneity, ironically. No, I agree. And I think that that's the problem with actually pencilers when they lay stuff out digitally is you sit and you tinker with stuff again and again and again, and you're trying to set it up. And to me, I can kind of spot when people have laid stuff out digitally because everything kind of has a place and a sense of real estate in a piece. Whereas if you lay something out on an original board and you get it kind of close, it sounds weird, but it's like those choices that you made, they're a little tiny bit off, actually add like some character to things. And it kind of like pixel perfect, it would almost be like placement perfect. And it there's just a sense of it. I noticed too that the size relationships of people that work digitally, unless they're again really on it, I call it 2-inch man, where everything is the same size. You'll have heads that are 2 inches big. You'll have full characters that are 2 inches big, and it lacks a variety of scale. And part of it's because they're zoomed in, and so stuff seems bigger when they're working than it is. And then when you see it in the comic book, everything is less dynamic. But this is fantastic, man. The gesture on this guy is killer. So, but again, I'm not here to shit on digital art. You do whatever you want, and if you do great art, I'm a fan and I will step up and buy it. I have no problem with that. So, you know. So this is Bob Camp who inked this. I do this folder. One of the reasons I wanted to start going through this folder is we'll be able to see the different inkers' names. I tended to list them more in this. So I'm not super familiar with Bob Camp as an artist, but I thought that he did a pretty nice job on this stuff for what it is. Now, he maybe was a fill-in inker for Buscema at times. I don't really know. So let's see. And this is Bill Sienkiewicz. So Bill Sienkiewicz and John worked together on 2 different projects. This is a Galactus book that they did. It's not as good to me as the Wolverine issues, but there's some interesting stuff in here. I'm just catching up with the chat. No, Steven Seagal, that's not accurate. I've never not inked a piece because a penciler inked a face on it, and Shane didn't ink anything on. Shane and I did a triple gatefold cover together, and no, I mean the only thing that happened with Shane was Wonder Woman's chin was a little big, and I asked some people that were at Wildstorm, and I said, hey, do you think that I should shave the chin down a little bit? And so I just changed her chin a little bit, and it bothered Shane, which, you know, rightfully so, was his drawing. But I normally don't adjust things on drawings. In fact, I almost never do. But the chin was so wide that I did it. The only person that I could think of, I won't say the artist's name, he's a pretty big penciler at Marvel, but this is a funny story, and it didn't make any sense to me. So this guy, again, he's a real big penciler, super like A-lister guy. He goes, I've always wanted you to ink me, blah 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 blah. And I was like, all right, cool. I don't really work for Marvel, but maybe we could do a couple of pieces together. So he sends me a cover with characters on it, and he's inked all the faces, and I'm thinking like, well, if you've always wanted me to ink you, why the fuck would you ink the faces on a piece? Like, it's like, and then he wanted me to ink it like another inker, and I was just like, you're a fucking moron. So I didn't say that to him, but that's in my mind. I'm like, I didn't even, it made no sense. But, you know, I would never ink him again. I mean, I'm not inking anyone anymore, but that was ridiculous. This is stupid. But, and if you're watching, then you know who you are. But yeah, it's like, okay, buddy, makes a lot of sense. You do you, baby. You do you. That's the greatest thing about not having to ink anymore. You can share stories like this and not give a crap. All right, so this is Armando Gill. Again, so many different inkers ink John at this time. It's really crazy. And, you know, again, these faces drift a little bit in terms of like the structure for them. So it's kind of interesting. You know what I might do? Let's see. Shut this one. Oh, I love this page. This monster is so cool. So this is still Armando Gill. Let's see. Hold on. I mean, I don't care. You guys can say whatever you want in the chat. I don't edit it. I figure we're all adults here, unless someone's being outright rude or kind of like attacking someone else in the chat. It's all fair game. We're adults. We can handle ourselves. So is Conan missing an arm? What is going on here? Or is this? Oh, this isn't Conan. I'm like, dude, this guy's arm is completely off. Oh, this piece is very, very cool. So this is Amazing Spider-Man Annual, and I think it's John on John. I didn't write an inker's name, so I'm going to go with, I believe that this is Buscema inking himself. I thought this was really, really cool, and I've never seen this story, but it looks really, really interesting. Oh, is it Greinberg? Okay. Yeah, this piece is really cool. And Tom Greinberg is known as a penciler too, right? Like I know his name. I'm not super familiar with Tom Greinberg's body of work though, yet. I mean, I'm always trying to learn. So this is Alfredo Alcala on this one. Beautiful, beautiful inks. It's real interesting too. Is the duo shade or whatever this is? This duo shade or is this considered zipatone? On a. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. So, I don't know what this exact. This may be the duo shade board. It yellows quite a bit, but it does definitely give the art a bit of a vibe. But man, Akala was great on John Buscema. These lines are so beautiful and they're so fluid, and there's just a real quality of calligraphy with this lines. I mean, Akala was a genius. This is really, really beautiful, beautiful work. I would love to get one of these originals. In fact, it's funny as how I was saying that some of John Buscema's stuff is amazingly more affordable than you would think. You know, they're still going to cost you a few $100, but you know, this is how I get involved in buying art. Is sometimes you buy a nice Conan page that doesn't have Conan on it, but still had a lot of work put into it. You know what I mean? Those are going to be more affordable, and you'll still be able to enjoy the artistry, but it just might not have Conan, you know, looking super kick-ass in it. So, you know, but if you've got a bigger budget, you know, you could always treat yourself to something super fancy on both ends, detail and, but yeah, I don't know, something about this guy's hair and face. It's just, man, the artistry involved is so good. These thick and thin lines, and even the way that he did this like wood and stuff is great. So this next piece is Alfredo Alcala too, but you can see this looks a bit different. You know, it's a little tiny bit of a different style, but still really good. And one thing with Alcala too, as you notice, sorry, I'm flipping around a lot, is he was able to keep the Buscema aesthetic on the faces more. Whereas we'll see with other inkers that the actual sort of what would you call it, like archetype seems to shift a little more. Love, man, his profiles are so good. I overdraw my profiles, and then when I see stuff like this, I just go, oh man, like that's what I need to be doing more of that. His nose is a little, I mean, it looks fine, but it's a little like almost pushed down. But you know, Conan's been in a fight or two. Definitely would assume this dude's had a broken nose or a couple. The dotted zipatone is actually funny. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it is kind of a funny choice. And you know, the thing is with this art, this is the stuff where you wonder how tight the pencils were that he was sending to these guys, because I mean, it's possible that they were just like the breakdowns that we were looking at, you know, and that he would just go further with it. Yeah, I agree, Seven. It does look like it. Okay, so this is Akala also. The next piece is going to be Al Williamson, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, Colin's got a very, very fluid line. It's very, very pretty. And in fact, you can, Barry Windsor Smith has a little bit of a similar calligraphy. Not exactly, but there's little crossovers that you can kind of maybe sense, you know. I love how these chunks of muscle, the shadows that they put, they're very you know, they're very bloopy. Like he kind of goes in and does these nice big kind of chunks like this, and they're sort of broke up. You can see them in here, but they look real nice. And then with that feathering coming out of it, it's a real interesting look. This stuff is always nice. It's funny, look how loose the chains are. Some of them don't even, it's funny because I would have really wanted to put in this little middle sort of gap here, but he doesn't do it, and it looks fine. I mean, you know, it's this panel is a fast read. So let me just check my phone really quick. I just want to make sure Kelsey isn't. Oh wait, no, I don't think that was Kelsey. I can't remember Kelsey's zip code. Whatever Louisiana is, the Bayou. He's born in the Bayou. Okay, so this is Al Williamson inks, and this is Wolverine. So very, very interesting. We're going to see some Bill Sienkiewicz here too in a bit, but we've got a couple of Al Williamson inks. I thought Al did a real nice job on him, and in fact, it's funny because it's, you know, I don't know if I would just look at this if I would think Al Williamson, because it's quite bold and almost looks like it was inked with a brush. I mean, this panel in particular, I really liked. Man, it just looks like he took a brush and just drew this banister or whatever you call it, like the staircase, the handrail thing. It's really, really cool. And I love the shadows aren't consistent. This is a mistake I would make, where I would want to make the shadows running down these poles, you know, like I'd go, oh, well, this is a side, so I'll have the shadows very like ruled out kind of. And you see it and you go, man, I don't know, this right here works for me. It like just has a personality. Look at these stairs too. It's very, very cool. The chained beast looks like Kelsey. There's a lot of beastly creatures that look like Kelsey. This is all very, very cool. The tiger is dead. Tiger with a Y, like Liger. All right, let's see this next one. I'll open some more too. We're getting towards the end of these open files. So again, I don't know if I would know that this is Al Williamson. This has, I think, maybe like a little bit more of a Williamson vibe, but they might have been cranking on this. I think at times Marvel really ran these guys ragged. I actually really like this area right here on her pants. Let me, I'll grab a color so we can see what I'm talking about. But this right here, I love the way that it's drawn with just those brush strokes putting in the folds and stuff. It's very, very nice. It looks great. This is really cool too. Nice panel. Okay, so this is going to be Armando Gill. So let's check out Armando Gill. Yeah, this is nice too. So this looks like it's Conan again. Yeah, Conan the Barbarian 165. So this is pretty late in the run. You know, 165 issues is over 12 years if they were doing 12 books a year. So John did tons and tons of Conan comics. And obviously there was other pencilers strewn in with about, but oh, sorry, I meant to zoom out. Okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try something in Clip Studio really quick because I'm a little concerned about Photoshop is not opening some of the files. And like I said, I think what happened was I was downloading so many files that I was getting kind of impatient. And when I would save them, a lot of times I would be like, all right, I just need to get to the next file, and I would shut it. And so Photoshop is like saying that they can't parse the data or whatever, something like that. Oh. All right, we're going to go into John Buscema. All right, so let's try these. We'll see if Clip Studio has the same issue that Photoshop is having. It sucks because I did so much hard work on that. It's going to blow if a bunch of the files won't open because they didn't completely save the actual info. Clip Studio is weird. It like will build up. It's like thinking about opening all the files and then it opens them at once. So just give it a sec. I'll catch up with the chat here for a second. Yeah, the camera angles are great on this. So again, I really appreciate everyone hanging out. We'll go through this last stack of pages. It's about 50 or 60 files, and then we'll wrap it up. But that'll almost be a 3-hour show. So 3-hour show solo is not bad. I'm gonna need to take a nap after this now. And again, thank you for the super chats. I do appreciate it. I want to get a PO box, and what I was thinking about doing is one of my favorite things to see is people unboxing comics, and I thought if people wanted to send stuff for Kelsey and I to look at, we can maybe do something along the lines of that, where like, you know, some old 70 books, don't send anything nice, but I mean, just like if you have a beater copy of a comic that you think would be interesting to go over, we can maybe look at them. It would be cool. All right, come on, Clip Studio, what are you doing? Is it thinking? Well, all right, it was still thinking. Let me just let it think, finish. Okay, here we go. I got it. Okay, so this is not a listed file, but this is She-Hulk. I thought this was an interesting page because just the fact that I think that it's an Incredible Hulk issue, but I'm wondering if this is like a fairly early appearance of She-Hulk. It may even be the first time that she's sort of popping up in this comic, because if anyone knows, it's interesting, but it almost, I got the impression that they're sort of introducing She-Hulk on this page. Oh yeah, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. Not a problem at all. Have a great day. All right. Whoop. Oh. Are you still on? Yeah, I'm gonna go for like another 30 minutes. Okay. Okay, this is cool. So this is called The Conqueror, and this is Bob Wycheck inking him. So again, another inker that I hadn't even mentioned, but Bob Wycheck I thought did actually a real nice job on it too. These cats are awesome. It looks really good. Some of the Cole stuff I actually liked quite a bit. This is Koblish. Scott Koblish, I believe. This is a little looser. This was kind of this is Daredevil, but this is Scott Koblish inks. I'm going to try to pull these over a little more so we got more room on the sides. So I don't need this shit open. Sorry, let me grab this. Come on. Can I shut this? Yeah. I just wanted to get the screen bigger. Yeah, so Scott Koblish. I pictured Koblish is a penciler too, so I don't know if they were just filling in on this book. I have no idea. But it's weird. It almost is giving me like Spider-Man 2099 vibes, which is Al Williamson and oh shoot, it's an artist I actually like too. What's his name? Who did Spider-Man 2099? He's really good. Someone will know. Hey, what is up? All right, so this is Klaus Janson Call. These are great. This is really interesting to see Klaus Janson again. So Klaus has got a very, very bouncy line. It's a lot of very kind of bloop and blop kind of thing going on. And there's an underwater page. Hopefully it's in here. It's really, really interesting. Yeah, Klaus does it's an interesting look. Now, I don't know if I even knew that Klaus Janson had ever inked him, but you could see, I mean, this really, you can see how much Klaus adds to like Frank Miller's work. Because when you look at this, although it doesn't look like a Frank Miller, like Dark Knight Returns panel, you can get a little bit of that vibe here. There's a little bit of it going on. Oh, Rick Leonardi. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, Rick Leonardi and Al Williamson. I really like that book. I thought it was really, really good. And this is Klaus Janson too. This is another call page. This one's pretty crazy. These creatures are super weird looking. Like they're like melty. I don't even know. They're very, very weird looking, but it's a cool style of inking. I actually like it. I never ever would ink this crazy thick and thin like this, but seeing it, I kind of go, maybe it would be interesting to try. It seems to look really, really nice. It's funny because with the splatter and stuff like that, I'm not, Klaus does, actually when he draws pencils inks himself, he uses a lot of that. The white paint maybe is a little too much, but I think it's just, it shows up so much on the original. All right, this is Klaus also. And after, oh, this was the piece. I thought this was really interesting. So this is, I'm assuming, a Wolverine, or no, it says Marvel Comics Presents. So it might be a Marvel Comics Presents Wolverine story. You can't see the art at all? Oh, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. I know what's going on. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. I need to switch sharing the camera. No worries. I'll go back. I get it. It's because I need to share Clip Studio. My bad. We'll go back. It's not a big deal. I can grab these files easy. So I want to share. Thank you for telling me. All right. So share screen. See, this is why I need Kelsey. Okay, so Clip Studio. Here we go. All right, we're going to go back, friends. So let me open up the files that got shut really quick. It was just three, a few. Okay, it was right here to here. It was 5 files. We'll do them real quick. You already know the dialogue. It's come. Hold on. Let's see. No, I think I see it on my iPad. It looks good now, right? Yeah. Sorry about that. My bad. Just give Clip Studio a second to think. Okay, so this is the Call Bob Wycheck piece that I was talking about, which I actually like this. I think that this is actually very, very nice inks. And it looks like John Buscema to me, which are, I think, trademarks of a good finisher is you're keeping enough of the original penciler intact, but this is nice, and it's loose too. I mean, he's doing a beautiful job with these open lines and the thick and thin and all that. I mean, I think it has a nice hand-drawn feel to it, but also the blip and blop, that bold, thin, broken lines are always interesting. I mean, look even in here, like on her leg, you can see there's little gaps and stuff that make it real interesting. Adam Hughes does this a lot, where he won't connect every line. And it really, really makes stuff interesting and kind of, I was talking to someone, I think we were talking about music, but I think music and art are kind of the same thing, where it's like, we were talking about lyrics and like how when a singer sings, it's sometimes more interesting when you can't understand every lyric in the song. I think art is like that too, where if it's overdrawn, then as a viewer, you're not able to participate as much and kind of make up parts of the story yourself. And so, although as an artist, you might think that you're kind of giving more by drawing and really making things crystal clear, there's something to open space with art and things that are maybe not as defined, and it creates a funness. So this is the Scott Koblish piece that I was saying feels a little off and was giving me a little bit of sort of like a 90s Marvel sort of vibe. I don't know why, but it reminds me of like a 90s Marvel book a little bit. But this Daredevil is actually really badass. I like this a lot. All the glass and stuff breaking looks great, but I don't know, something about these characters here feels a little funky. And then these panels up here are actually quite nice. I remember having to ink a broken window when I first got to Wildstorm, and I had no idea how to handle all the glass and make it like have some sort of depth. Okay, this is interesting. So this didn't open the time before, but this is beautiful. So this is Klaus Janson. This is nice. I didn't see this one before, so it was actually good that we had to go backwards. Boy, this is very, very cool. I have no idea what this is for. I'm assuming probably something. Oh, Call. Okay, Call. This is nice. Man, these are really fun. And this Zipatone looks great on it. Oh my gosh, look at this. But, you know, we were talking about digital art a few minutes ago, and I know it's not fair to really compare something like this to digital art. But, okay, so like in Clip Studio, you have screen tones. You have all these. I mean, I have 2 different sets of custom brushes that I bought from Friendin and what's it called? Something Flyland. And you know, I mean, I've got probably 900 custom brushes. I really don't think digitally you can get stuff that has this level of whatever this has. There's something to it that's just a little, I don't know, it's a little more interesting, and it's apples and oranges. I mean, you really can't compare the two, but I don't know, there's something a little different. The way the ink goes on the paper, and I mean, I know, like, I mean, even Painter had it. Corel had, you know, you could use textured paper and stuff like that, and then I think stuff like that helps. So this is Klaus Janson. This is a Cole page, but you know, yeah, I don't know. There's probably little errors in this art that just make it a little more interesting, and it could be even stuff like this where normally you would paint bucket these arrows so they'd be all jet black. But Klaus kind of missed little spots of black, like this is connected and it didn't connect. And so there's just little moments of spontaneity, and they really add up over a full piece. You know, we're looking at 3 spearheads, but there's all this other art that maybe has similar things going on, and it gives a little bit of breathing room. And I agree with what Comic Book Bob just said. Old school artists are just crazy skilled. Guys like Buscema, Byrne, Ditko, Adams are just all on a level of their own. You know, in a weird way, it's a little bit like actors and musicians from years ago. And there's great musicians and actors now. It's not to take away from people that are working now in the business that take it real seriously. But, you know, an entertainer, you know, this is before my time, they were really good at acting. A lot of them could sing. A lot of them could dance. It sounds corny because it's nothing that I would be into. Like, I don't need a song and dance man to impress me. But you know, there was a level of commitment to artistry that you know, maybe past generations had that we could learn from as artists now. It's not so much that it doesn't exist. There's really, really great artists working now, but we could all take a page from this book and maybe learn from it, you know. So this was the Klaus Janson page that I was referring to right before the one where I switched back over. So yeah, these are like super, super creepy looking melty dudes, and really, really neat though. Super organic, man alive. This is a bold inking style. This would be frightening, you know. It would for me, it would feel like I was doing a lot of stuff wrong, but then you look at the sum of the whole, and it does seem to work. So I'll pan down now real slow so you can see the full piece. Less distracted, that could be too, you know, honestly. Even when I try not to be on social media, you know, there's always that temptation to just kind of pop in and check what's going on. So I get it. I'm pretty good about it. I try to keep it art related. That keeps it a little more simple for me, honestly. Like I try not to get involved in like a lot of like side discussions, because then you really, you're going to be pulled away from the table. I love the forearm on this guy. Is great. And again, Klaus's inks are just so wild. This right here is very, very cool. Sorry, I'll zoom out a little. But it's just these big, thick lines, and then thin, and then bam, thick. It's really, really interesting. Might be something fun for you all to try if you ink yourself at home, you know. Make a blue line of a piece and try to ink it like maybe 2 different ways. So, and then this was the one we were on when you guys were nice enough to tell me that I was being stupid. So, all right, this is a good one. This was the one I was talking about. I don't know, I kind of like how stylish it is. This stuff at the bottom is really, really interesting. But, you know, like one of my favorite weird brushes in Clip Studio is I actually really enjoy the calligraphy brush. And the calligraphy brush, if you turn it at certain angles, can actually get some really beautiful lines like this. And then if you mess with the opacity on it, meaning the level of translucency that it puts down, you can get some really, really cool lines that look like this. So, you know, if you're going to use brushes in the studio, in Clip Studio or Photoshop, definitely try to make some custom brushes of your own, you know, that you make. It's really quite simple and fun, and it'll put you into your tools. I have people texting me, but I don't know if they're watching me on YouTube and they're reaching out or what's going on. All right, so this is Joe Sinnott. Okay, so, oh yeah, this is a nice one. I saved this page a couple of times, but you can see how clean Sinnott is on him compared to some of the other stuff that we've seen. It's funny, but these lines are, man, they're flawless. Look at this stuff. And this is with a brush. He's using like a brush and a ruler or maybe an inking triangle, and you kind of balance it and you do the brush strokes like that. It's really, really hard. It's one of the hardest techniques, in my opinion, to do. These aren't super long strokes with it, but when you get into really, really long ones and you're supporting the tool with your hand, man, it's tricky. I'll generally use a hump 102 and lay the tool down. That's much easier. But if you're free balancing a straight edge and taking a brush and doing the like speed lines like that, it's very, very, you need to be steady. Brush is one of the few things I think digital ironically has issue with. The control randomness is impossible to mimic. Yeah. Speed lines need to come back. So do people not use speed lines anymore? Whenever I use them on a page, and the first thing that I said when I sent it in was, do not blur these. Like colorists always want to blur your speed lines, and it's like, if I spend 3 hours doing speed lines, I don't want them blurred out. You know, that's not the point of them. The point is it's a technique that you're flexing. All right, so this is Buscema inked by Jim Mooney. I mean, it's okay. I'm not like anti Jim Mooney, but it's not as nice as the Sinnott inks for sure. It feels a little rushed, like up here. It's a little more organic. Sinnott clearly was quite a craftsman. So, and who knows what the circumstances were when Jim Mooney inked this. It could have been a Hail Mary, you know, can you do it in 4 hours kind of thing. All right, let's continue. So we've got one more Jim Mooney, and then we're going to get into more Jansen. Or actually, you know what? Let's do this. We can skip around a little bit. Let's look at, here's some Tony de Zuniga. I love these pieces, and this is quite different. But this, to me, really feels like almost like Neil Adams or something. These are fantastic pieces. I think you guys will get a kick out of these. We'll do a batch of Tony de Zuniga, and we're going to get into some Ernie Chan and more. So, all right, let's do this. Tony uses some really interesting zipatone on his pages. This isn't exactly what I'm referring to. This stuff is okay. This is the dotted stuff, but you'll see when we get to some of the other pages, it is yellowed quite a bit, but it's very, very cool looking. But yeah, I want to definitely own a Tony page at some point. Oh, thank you very much, Comic Book Creation Live. I appreciate it. Oh, right. You've seen John Beatty do that with a brush and straight edge. It's a bit of an older school technique. Someone explained it to me in like the early 90s. And then I never really had to use it, but I've tried it multiple times throughout my career, and it's hard. To me, it really is very, very difficult to do. But yeah, I'm way into this Tony Zuniga stuff. His name is hard to say. Look at this. This guy was a badass, man. Oh, that's so good. Look at the forms here too. Oh wow, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Jimmy Reyes Clip Studio paint inking brushes and they're good too. Oh, thank you so much, Stephen. I really appreciate it. We've been friends for how many years now? We've known each other online for 20 years. 17. It's been a long time. He used to be Requies, right? Was that what it was? Or it was something Requies. He's laughing right now. See, he was surprised that I remembered his old username from like a Yahoo group. It was Requies. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally get that. I used Clip Studio on the first issue of Crystal Planet, in fact, because I was penciling and inking myself, and I knew how time consuming it would be to try to do it traditionally. And I still fill in my blacks digitally right now, a lot of them. So no, I'm right there with you. I've been doing the pages traditionally, but yeah, I drop the blacks in digitally after I scan it, just because it's so much faster. And look, honestly, these guys would have used it too. They would have used it to some extent, for sure, especially the jobber jobs, because it's just you would have to, you know. Comics is so demanding. You use the Jimmy quills a lot. So check out the Jimmy Reyes set too. He's put hard work into a set of brushes and quills, and Jimmy's a real good inker, so I'm sure he knows what he's doing. Okay, so this is the stuff I was talking about. So this is the zip that yellows more, but I really like the look of it. It's almost like if we really zoom in, I guess it is. It's the little squares. But yeah, it's got a nice look to it. I'm just checking the name. E.R. Cruz. I don't know. E.R. Cruz. We'll see who that is. I'm curious now. So let's see. This page that I'm going to open next is inked by E.R. E.R. Cruz. I'm not familiar with who this is. This is pretty interesting, though. And again, you're seeing such a wide variety now of styles on John's work. I mean, this guy's definitely drawing a lot his own, because this doesn't look anything like a Buscema face, but this does. I'll check him out. Okay, I get it, Steven. Yeah, no, I'll pick him up. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is nice. I'm not crazy about the structure of the faces changing so much, but there's an interestingness to it. And this actually does have a little bit of like a Bernie Wrightson feel to it. Okay, so now we're going to look at some Ernie Chan. Okay, so this is Ernie Chan inks on John. And Chan actually signed it. That's funny. This is like one of the first pieces we've seen signed, and he signed it like in the middle of a panel of all things. It's kind of trippy. You see it right here? Ernie's like, I'm signing it. I sat next to Ernie Chan right before he passed away at Comic-Con. I was next to him all weekend long, and he died maybe a month later, something like that. But he seemed like a real nice guy. It was exciting. It was actually very cool to see fans coming up to him and like expressing their fandom to him. I found it really cool. Plug, you're getting a little bit of a Plug vibe. I could see that for sure. I actually really like Mike Plug's stuff a lot. Let's see. Okay, and this is Ernie Chan too. There's a little bit of like wax or something spilled on the original. The monster's pretty funny looking. Okay, so let's see here. Let's get to, I'm going to go in the folder and just look really fast. I want to find some, I'm going to go down a bit. Let's see what else we've got here. Was this interesting? Oh yeah, I want you guys to see this Marie Severin stuff. This was very interesting. Oh, and we've got Rudy Nebres and Nestor Redondo and Kevin Nolan. All right, let's grab these. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be a good batch. No, sleep. Tell. Down. Oh, did it look like Kelsey's art? That's funny. Let me know if Kelsey shows up in the chat. Oh, right. I know. That's funny, right? That Buscema said that he wasn't in the comics, but he was good at the storytelling. Some people are a little critical on John's storytelling. I had someone ask what I thought about it. I don't have like a strong opinion, to be honest. So it's one of those things. My screen's going to go black for a second. It's just it's opening the files. It's got to think through it. All right, so this is Pablo Marcos. We'll look at this real quick, but we've got Kevin Nolan coming up, Nestor Redondo, Rudy Nebres, and then you've got to see these Marie Severin pages. Are very, very weird, but cool in a way too. So I'm not as familiar with Pablo Marcos's work. I do know the name. I like this. I think this panel looks actually very cool. I like how he was able to handle the eyebrows and stuff like that. Nebres over John Buscema on Weird World was okay. Well, I don't know what these pages are from. We'll see in a sec. Okay, so this is Kevin Nolan. I actually enjoyed the Kevin Nolan inks over John, but it's very clean and it looks like Kevin Nolan, but it's pretty good too. I'm gonna just adjust the tonal correction on this just a tiny bit. Get a little darker. Just so we can see it. I don't want to make it mud, but okay. But yeah, Kevin Nolan, he has a tendency to like do multiple feathering effects and stuff like that. So you get it where it starts to look a bit like Kevin Nolan. But I enjoy it. And there's actually a lot of the Kevin Nolan inked pages on Heritage. This is interesting. Look at his boot here. He didn't connect any of the lines on the outside. And it looks great. It's actually very, very cool. The colorist will want to kill you if you do that a lot, though. No holding lines. Do I like Frank Giacomo? I have some Frank Giacomo stuff opened. I thought it was cool. We'll see in a second. Hold on. We'll look at a few before we go. And this feels very Mignola, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, it's a unique combo. The Kevin Nolan and John Buscema stuff I think is kind of neat. We have one more Nolan, and then we're going to get into Nestor Redondo, and then Rudy Nebres. So this is very Kevin Nolan. It almost looks just like Kevin Nolan. So this is Superman, Blood of the Ancestors is what it's called, and this is from 2003. So this is right before John passed away, or you know what? This might have been drawn and John had died. It's close to when John passed away. I vaguely remember this because DC had just bought us. Interesting. Okay, so now these are Nestor Redondo. This will be interesting. I'm curious to see what these look like. Oh man, look at this. This is great. Whoo! Cool content too, though. I mean, the thing is obviously depending on what he's drawing and what the person's inking, there's a higher likelihood we're going to go, oh man, that's badass. But that is badass. I didn't write down what story this is. You can let me know if this was the one you were talking about. But man, this stuff is badass. Very bold inks. They're very, very thick lines, but man, it looks great. You can zoom out a little bit so you can kind of take it all in. Man, this is so good. Very, very cool. All right, let's continue. And this is going to be, okay, so this is Rudy Nebres. This has ink wash. I think this is one of the first ink wash pages that we've seen, at least in a while. We haven't had a ton, but there a lot of the different Filipino inkers did actually use ink wash on John. And so you'll get highly detailed line work many times with wash. So it's a little bit of a quicker way to place down value without having to render the shit out of everything. It's very, very nice. His inks are great. Classic Buscema girl. Yeah. Redondo actually has panel borders in this. Oh, does he normally not use panel borders? I don't know. This is cool. Lots of lines. Man, this is really interesting. Look at all the hatching in here. This is a pretty educational video. I mean, not what I'm saying, but just that we're looking at like a lot of good art. And this is interesting too, is that there's like, it looks like, I don't know, is this some sort of ballpoint pen? It looks like John actually drew it in blue pen. I wonder, could this have been inked over a fax? Is fax ink blue? I wonder if they faxed this to him. That's really, really trippy. It could be that the ink faded though. This actually looks like the pen that he used, actually, like the ink faded. Now I'm thinking of it. Yeah, John had a lot of Filipino inkers for sure. This reads like a cover. Honestly, that's crazy. So this is a panel, but watch, like, if you look at it like this, you go, man, that would make a great cover. And then watch when we see the whole page. It's such a small part of the page. Isn't that funny? It's really, really wild. All right, so this is also Rudy Nebres, and this is interesting. It's a little different. And this actually, you'll see when we look at the Marie Severin stuff, the Marie Severin stuff had a little bit of this kind of vibe. So this is another Conan page. But yeah, this is very whimsical and very almost like P. Craig Russell-ish. Oh, I see. Okay, thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. Isn't this funny? It's so much more lining. And there's lots of notes down here. I like his cheek out. He's eating, and his facial expression is great. That's funny. Oh man, this is so good. This right here is beautiful. Man, the rendering in this like arc right here. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Very nice. Okay, so we've got one more Rudy Nebres, and then we're going to get into, I have the initials as MS. I'll remember who it is in a second. Oh, Marie Severin is what it'll be. Right. So here we go. So this one's got the wash again on it. So it's interesting because then it does make me actually wonder if the other page that he didn't use wash on would have actually looked more like this with the wash. So it feels like very different line work, but maybe not. Again, those classic John Buscema legs, man, they're so good. I'm sure so many people in the 70s that were learning to draw would sit and practice John Buscema little figures. There's no way. It's like so iconic. And it helps that Conan kind of runs around like in not a lot of clothes, because it gives you an opportunity to learn the anatomy kind of, you know, a little more the way that John handles it. He doesn't put a lot of muscles, but he puts enough. Okay, so this is the Marie Severin stuff. I've got a few pages, but this is really interesting. So Marie Severin and John did, I want to say that this is, I guess it's called Weird World for Epic. And this might have been what someone said in the comments section, but I actually really like this. It doesn't look a lot like Buscema, but I found it very interesting looking. I thought Dan Fraga would like this a lot. In fact, it really made me think of the stuff that we did on He-Man Masters of the Multiverse. Had a little bit of that vibe. This is kind of it's a weird page. There's not much going on in it, but you'll see with the other stuff. But yeah, it's an interesting, again, like I'm almost getting like a P. Craig Russell vibe. Okay, I don't know Fortunino Montaña's work, so I'll have to check it out. You're practicing Buscema anatomy today? Nice. All right, let's continue to go. Okay, so this is the Marvel Treasury cover prelim. We'll just look at this real fast. It was in the mix. So this is Doctor Doom, Superman, and Spider-Man. This was a big deal. I was actually watching a video on this. So I guess this book was actually the very first time that DC and Marvel crossed over, and it's Superman and Spider-Man. I didn't realize Doom was in it, but yeah, apparently this was a big deal, and it was something that I want to say was maybe mail order. I think it came out in a Marvel Treasury size book, but I could be mistaken. That's what the person was saying. Again, when you're getting information from videos, you know, buyer beware. So this is the Marie Severin. So this is called Dragon Master of Clarn, a weird world adventure. John Buscema pencils. Oh wait, yeah, Doug Mensch writer, John Buscema pencils, Marie Severin inker. But man, you would never ever in a million years think that this is Buscema, I don't think. But look at how cool this is. I'm gonna check my phone real quick and see if Kelsey has reached out to me. Kelsey, come back. You could blame it all on me. Let's see. No, Kelsey. All right. Mark Silvestri is definitely a big Buscema fan. He's said that. That's not a secret. It's for show. This is funny stuff, though, right? All right, let's go. There's a really cool double page spread coming up in a second. I've just got look at this. This is crazy. This could be a Saturday morning cartoon. Yeah, it's funny stuff. This is nice. This little the falling planks. It almost looks like it was inked on vellum. I don't think that it was, because I can kind of see the board, but the way that the inks look, it actually has a little bit of a vibe of vellum, which is vellum is very slick, so your inks kind of sit on it almost like on the surface. Let's see, is this the spread? Hoping, yeah, look at this double page spread. This thing is great. We'll zoom in on it. Look here, I'll give you a second to kind of soak it in at full size. So it's like a big tree house kind of thing going on, almost Ewok-ish. I'd be curious of what year this was done, if the Ewoks had already existed, or if this was before that. George Lucas, I'm looking at you, buddy. This is very Ewok Village. Am I tripping? Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This stuff is cool, right? This was the surprise of me going through hours and hours of Heritage, was I'd never seen this stuff. It doesn't really look like Buscema to me when I look at it, but yet I like it a lot. The combination of the two are very, very interesting. And I don't know. I assume that John's pencils probably look like this to some extent. It's very, very cool. It's almost like a Frazetta drew like a fantasy comic or something. You know, I mean, something cartoony in his like pillow book style. Yeah, isn't that great? I thought so too. I really liked it. It's just very fun and different. Just you know, I said I really, really enjoy stuff like this. It reminds me a little bit of, if you ever saw the Shel Silverstein like Where the Sidewalk Ends books. Shel kind of drew a little bit like this. He's a poet, but he was actually a poet and an artist. A pretty good poet too, honestly. It's really, really good for kids. It was very popular when I was a kid, but man, this is great. Very fun. Just such a breath of fresh air when you're looking at all the other stuff. Unexpected magic. So, okay. So now we're going to look at, we've got one Jim Mooney. We'll see how Jim Mooney did. This is nice. I actually really like this panel in the middle. I remember when I saw it, it was like a classic John Buscema, like the legs and pants and stuff like this. It's funny because although I didn't necessarily grow up on this stuff, I kind of draw like normal people street clothes like this still. It's not very hip. Like you see a J. Scott Campbell cover and they're wearing like shoes that you would find at like Nordstrom and stuff like that. And I'm giving everybody like 1950s like loafers and stuff. I'm not that old, but it's just like I'm not like a fashionista. So it's like I don't know what cool shoes are. I wear like skateboard shoes and a black t-shirt. So this is Klaus Janson. This is Giant Man Thing. Not to be confused with other swamp like creatures. Kind of a boring page, but still Janson inks on him, kind of fun. Oh, this or the one looked like Gene Colan. I could see that. I know what you're talking about on that other page. It did have a little bit of a Gene Colan vibe. All right, so this is Janson. Okay. Oh, we got to get into Sienkiewicz. Shit, we haven't even looked at any Bill Sienkiewicz Wolverine yet. We'll grab that next. This might have to go another half hour. Like I said, I got really nothing to do. It's my birthday. I just have to call my parents after. There's a moth flying around. I'm trying to grab it. I don't know if you could see me. I just got to call my mom and dad after this. I'm gonna be talked out. My mom's gonna be like, "How was your morning?" I'm like, "Mom, you don't even know. Kelsey didn't show up." She's like, "Who's Kelsey? Who is that bitch?" Look at Wolverine's booties. He's got cool little heels on his shoes. Or maybe the other guy did. Was the other guy wearing heels? No, this is Wolverine. Wolverine, he's got like the dingo boots. Pre-approved by O.J. Simpson, apparently. So this is Jeff Isherwood. This stuff is interesting, too. So Isherwood definitely kind of overwhelms Buscema's pencils, but it's an interesting combination. I actually like these two for their own sort of wacky combination. But, yeah, Buscema had a very interesting run of... I don't even know what you would call this. It reminds me of a lot of different pencilers, though, from this era. Like the comic Warlord and stuff like that. They're nice. I mean, it's really well done. Just doesn't look like like if you're a hardcore Buscema fan, it's through definitely Isherwood's filter. This is nice. I mean, and look, to me, this does look a lot like a Mark Silvestri like 80s Uncanny X-Men drawing. Not as much the Wolverine stuff, but definitely some of his Uncanny X-Men stuff has stuff like this. Is Kelsey in the comments section? Kelsey, are you here? Is anybody in there? Just nod if you could hear me. All right, so this is more Isherwood. This doesn't look like the other stuff though, but it's a cool piece. This almost felt like maybe something that was done later, because who is this character right here? I don't know who that is. I definitely thought that it was someone that it wasn't. So let me see in the chat. Palmer. I have some Tom Palmer stuff too. We'll see if we get to it. Oh, so this is... Oh, I'm sorry. This is Greg Adams inked this. I was thinking it was Jeff Isherwood. So this is an artist named Greg Adams. I'm not familiar with Greg Adams' work, but he's clearly talented. I mean, this is pretty nice inks, honestly. I think he did a real good job on it. Is that Spider-Man 2099? That's kind of what... Oh, so it's Spider-Man 3. So what year do you think this piece was done? That's what was tripping me out. Oh, 1993. Okay, that makes sense. So I thought I did think it was Spider-Man 2099, but I didn't want to be like way off. Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. So next piece is Dick Giordano. So this is Dick Giordano on Worlds of the Unknown. So Dick is very famous for, I guess, working with Neil Adams. Is that probably the most iconic run that he did? I believe so. This is interesting. This is almost like merging his Jack Kirby style, and you're starting to see more of Buscema in it. It still feels a little Kirby-ish, but it's sort of going away. But you can kind of see like the remainder of Kirby is actually working against him now as he's bringing in more of his own aesthetic. It's actually starting to kind of like fight where it's looking a little distorted. I mean, he's trying to do kind of fisheye foreshortening, but yeah, it's interesting. But it feels a little like a transitional style. Dick's Inks could be changing it too. So this is George Rousseau. Not familiar with George Rousseau. His breakdowns were so loose. No, Kelsey noted me. He did note me. He didn't just vanish. He had stuff to do. The Lord's work. It's Sunday. You know how they are on the bayou? It's the I don't know, is that the Bible Belt? He might be at church. Okay, so let's see. We're going to go to now. Let's see. Let's look at a Dan Green page really quick. All right, so this is Dan Green inks on him. This is nice. So Dan Green, Call the Conqueror, issue number 2. I could only guess what year this would be, so I'll avoid trying to speculate on the year. But it's nice. You know, it looks good. You can see a little bit of like what he did on Mark in here. Some of this line work and stuff like that. It's real nice. Dan used to comment on my YouTube channel. I don't know if he's still around. He may even be watching this video today. Dan, if you're out there, we love your work, and we hope you're all doing well. So, but yeah, he used to comment occasionally on my videos. It was very cool. You know, Dan Green to me is a legend. So it was much appreciated. Okay, so let's do an Ernie Chan, and then we're going to get into some Bill Sienkiewicz, and then Armando Gill, and then we'll wrap it up with some more Alfredo Alcala. Oh, this is kind of a fun piece. It's a little flat, like the skull cave got a little flat, but this is Danny Bolinati, who some of the other pages I had of Danny Bolinati's inks were I thought cooler. And the inks aren't bad on this, but Bolinati actually was a real good inker. There was some real good stuff that he had done. These lizard people are actually pretty cool. You don't get a lot of lizard people in comics anymore. He's calling out bingo numbers at church. That would be awesome. He's helping old ladies knit after Sunday school, you know, when they have like little things. So let's see. So we're going to do... Okay, so let's look at some Bill Sienkiewicz. Okay, we saw this page already. Hold on. If I have to, I'll grab some other Bill Sienkiewicz stuff. So this is Bill Sienkiewicz. Oh, well, here's a Bill Sienkiewicz Wolverine page. It's not the most exciting one in the world, though, but I have more. We looked at this one already. I remember this thing. Okay, hold on. So we'll look at a couple more Armando Gill. Okay, we saw this already, too. I had opened these in another batch. Let me do this. I'm going to go into the folder and then scroll way down and see what we got down here. Steve Butler. Oh, here's some Tom Palmer. Let's look at a couple of Tom Palmers. Thanos. Okay, we'll grab these. Hold on. I just got a text. Let me see who it is. No, Kelsey. Okay, so this is Tom Palmer inks, and this is... I don't see the title. Let's see if I can recognize it. Is this Avengers? That looks like She-Hulk. It's hard to tell without color, but this is Thor right here. If someone will know what this is. Hey, what's up, Antoine? How are you? Reminds you of Rudy Neberez. Okay. All right. I actually kind of like this guy's outfit with the striped pants. It's a little bit, and the sleeves are cool. It's got like a little bit of a Flash Gordon vibe. So let's see. There's some more Tom Palmer. Oh, this is a really nice Tom Palmer page. Man, the inks are great on this. Wow. Boy, what a difference between the other one. You could tell that he actually had some time to work on this one. This is really cool. I'm feeling these little spots of Zipatone too. I'll pull out so we can look at the whole page real quick. So I'm going to just pan it real quick slowly. Yeah, this is really cool. The Black Panther is great. Man, that's so cool. These, yeah, man, these are really, really cool comics. And then they unmask him. Dun, dun, dun. Wow. So what does this say? It says, "And why shouldn't I be? It's for Serpent. No Black American can resist arrest, while a white." Dun dun dun. Man, this pose right here is so good. Man, I'm about that all day. And this is nice too. Actually, the shot with them looking out of the curtain and this guy speaking to the crowd is actually very, very awesome. His stance is a little funky, but better than someone standing straight up and down. Hey, what's up, Antoine? How are you? Did he ink colon? That I don't know. I like this too. This has got a little bit of a He-Man vibe. So, all right, we've got another Tom Palmer page. Oh, this is nice. I don't know what comic this is. Oh, maybe this is Fantastic Four? Tom Palmer Jr. used to write a column in Wizard, didn't he? You know, Tom Palmer Jr. was my editor at one point, or I worked on something with him. It was a long time ago, but that actually, you saying that reminded me of that. That's funny. That is true. I remember asking him if his dad was the inker. He was really nice too, actually. So this is also Tom Palmer. I like this. This is very, very fun. This is The Legacy of Thanos. This is from 1985, actually. So more recent than I would have guessed just at face value. But the style fits the 80s to me. This looks like, you know, that 80s look. It's a little bit of a different aesthetic than the 60s and early 70s. Okay, so now let me go into the other folder, and I'm going to look for as I have Buscema 2 new. Some of these are labeled for sure. Right? That's so weird. What? So here's some Sienkiewicz. Let me check out these really quick. And we have a Steve Lailiola. I don't know how you pronounce his name exactly. Sal Buscema and John Buscema. And here's a couple of Rudy Nebrez, pages 2. We'll grab this Al Williamson. See what we got. Oh, this is nice, man. We'll look at that page too. This is Frank Giacoa. So based on that, Frank Giacoa does a real nice job on John. It's bold. It's got that kind of Senate Jack Kirby vibe. Okay, so this is Al Williamson. This is beautiful. Wow, look at this one. This is great. Honestly, I bet if it would have thrown me off. Like, I wouldn't have thought that this is Sienkiewicz, but I think if someone would just showed this to me and said, who do you think is inking this? I might have guessed Bill Sienkiewicz just based on the detail, but it doesn't look like Sienkiewicz. He doesn't have the fine line scribbly thing. But man, this is a nice Al Williamson page. This would go for some serious money now. The funny thing is this probably back when it sold went for a couple $100. Now it would be a lot more. Let's see if there's a date on it. Sometimes Heritage dates them. No. So this may have sold more recently. The old Heritage scans will have a date, 2003, 2004. So let's check out Steve Lailiola. Oh, yeah. This is a nice page. I actually like this. It doesn't scream Buscema, but man, this panel is great. Look at this Howard the Duck panel right here. Sal was John's favorite. Oh, yeah, no problem. Happy birthday to me. Woo, woo. I'm treating myself to a really long John Buscema video. I like this panel a lot. I don't know what it is. If it's the brick pattern, the guy in shadow, the shadow on Howard the Duck, whatever it is, it's really got a neat mood to it. And this is nice too. Are any of you Howard the Duck fans? I've never got into reading it. Is it super funny? I have like the first 13 issues of the comic. Some of them are worth some money, to be honest. All right, so now this is Bill Sienkiewicz. So this is from that Galactus story, which is nice. This is actually real good. But I do prefer the Wolverine issues more. This is pretty cool. Let me I'll try to show you the whole page first so we don't get confused. So the upper panel is like Fantastic Four, and they're working on something, fixing the ship, maybe. Silver Surfer's checking out. We've got Reed Richards looking quite serious here. I'm gonna adjust the levels just the tiniest bit. so we can see it a little bit more. There was a long period of time where Bill Sienkiewicz was only inking other people. He would occasionally do like a few things here and there, but I kind of thought he was maybe done drawing. Then the last like 10 or 15 years, he's sort of come back to it. But Howard the Duck was sort of an, oh, okay, that makes sense. I get it. Like an early Deadpool. That's funny. That's a good analogy for it. I'll kind of, when I read it, I'll try to think of it in maybe that light. So I always think of it as like Daffy Duck or something, and then I'm like, I don't know. Know if that's necessarily right up my alley. Although those old cartoons are actually kind of cool. So this is Sienkiewicz. Like I said, this story is good. It just didn't blow me away like the Sienkiewicz Wolverine stuff did. I'm thinking that a lot of those files didn't make it into my freaking folders. It sucks. I'm gonna have to really reassess what happened. So this is Sal and John. We'll go for 5 more minutes. At 1:30 I gotta go because I actually do gotta call my parents separately. So they need to talk to their child on the most amazing day that they ever had. And then he came into our life. Shit. Okay, what do we got? Let's do a couple more Al Williamson. We'll go back to that one too because that looked pretty good. Whatever that was. Okay, we saw this one already. All right, so I must have accidentally reopened a couple extra files. Let's see what this is. So this is Rudy Nebrez. This is nice. Man, it's crazy. This looks like stuff from World of Warcraft. They must have, like, this is like crazy. Man, the washes are dark. Could be the scan a little bit, but you know, it is what it is. Man, we're gonna have John Buscema dreams tonight. We looked at so much John Buscema. I'm gonna be dreaming of Conan and kneecaps and bow-legged buff guys. Conan's hair flowing. Beautiful, what'd you call it? Like square-jawed ladies. Oh man, this is cool. This one gets shared around online quite a bit. I remember seeing this and maybe even had shared it myself before. Yeah, Rudy can draw his ass off. I agree. The horse's front legs look a little tiny bit short. I mean, I get sort of the shot that they're going for, but this horse's legs would be way longer in the front, but whatever. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just noticing it. These rocks are beautiful. Boy. And this is credited, well, no, finishes Rudy Nebrez. Okay, so it says art John Buscema, finishes Rudy Nebrez, but Rudy probably did a lot of the heavy lifting on this and did a really, really fantastic job. It's possible in the original sketch, John wanted the legs behind the thing and that they went further down. But when he broke the plane with the actual feet, it looks like they moved it forward. If all he really needed to do was just connect this line a bit more, and then you would get the sensation that the horse was standing behind the rock. I think that's what John was indicating. And then also the white on the top right here makes it look like it's closer together. So there's a few things that are finding the optical illusion of that being pushed back. It's not a big deal. I'm just pointing it out to anyone that might be interested in a quick problem solve on it. Yeah, sometimes you got to push stuff back. So this is Frank Giacoa inks. I like this. I was asked about a half hour ago about it, but I don't looks cool. I mean, the shark is very, very simple. He's definitely a very straightforward inker, but overall, I mean, these inks aren't fancy, but it looks fine to me. I'm not seeing a lot that I don't like. He could have cleaned the edges on these lines on this guy's helmet. Okay, so let's see. We'll do 2 more images, and then I'm going to wrap it up because I'm kind of getting beat. My voice is tired. Kelsey. Usually he does 50% of the talking. No, probably not 50%. These are nice. Classic Buscema beastly faces. We could all have bigger mouths on our characters and big lower lips. It's interesting that John didn't look more like his characters in terms of the face, because sometimes the way the artists will draw faces do actually kind of have similarities to their own facial structure, but John didn't seem to have that real strong lower lip. And this is another one of the Marie Severin pages. We'll end on something a little different than this, though, but this is nice. Again, it reminds me of the Frazetta, like, pillow talk or whatever it was called stuff. These little naked babies are funny. Naked baby, naked baby. They're swimming. Now this would probably get them canceled. No. It's like, you drew naked elf children frolicking. You're done. No more comics for you. All right, let's see you. Al Williamson. Okay, we already saw that. Akala. Hold on. I'm gonna just pick one. This is Rich's pick. Can I make these bigger? Oh man, I'm so bummed that some of these files didn't download. Ugh. It's gonna be the bane of my existence. I'm not even gonna deal with it for like a week. I don't even want to think about it. I already downloaded enough shit. Oh yeah, this is pretty cool. Yeah, this is nice. So this is, I didn't actually write down the inker's name. You know what? It's funny too, is I remember thinking that I would remember it, and now I don't. But this is very, very nice. Lots of beautiful girls on this. It's incredible to me, honestly, as someone who draws, like how much space he created in this particular piece. I mean, this is like, these are all fairly what I would consider decent sized figures. And he's got 2 large figures in the foreground, a few in the middle, and then as we go further back, there's even more, but no one feels small. Like nothing is like so tiny that you can't enjoy it in the piece, but this is really good. And the girls are just really, really pretty. She's really cute. She's looking at this fancy bird. He's like, suck on my fingers. It's like, so creepy. All right. And yeah, it's nice. He looks like Ming the Merciless. And then we've got the snake lady with the brunette, who's quite attractive. But yeah, this is awesome. And she's mixing up the medicine or something. She's gonna poison him. So okay, let me get out of full screen mode. And oh my gosh, I'm so tired. All right, that was fun. Is that Marcos? It could be. All right, well, again, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. It was a bummer that Kelsey couldn't be here. My guess is, like I said, Kelsey and I will at some point will return to Buscema, and I'll go in and kind of fix the files, and I'll kind of make sure. I'm going to actually I'll pull the files that we've already looked at, so we don't look at it like too much redundant stuff. But I would need to do it soon, because if I don't do it soon, I won't remember like a month from now. But Kelsey really did want to do this, so it's a kick him. I'm going to fly to New Orleans, and I'm going to punch him in the nuts, and then just get right back on a plane and come home. But yeah, we wish you well, Kelsey. I hope everything worked out, and he will watch this. And yeah, happy birthday to me. Like I said, I don't really have any plans for the rest of the day. I may watch this back and see how painful it is, but I have to organize some comic books. I have tons over here right now. Nothing really good, although this is cool. If you guys are fans of Aaron Weisenfeld and you never picked up Guardian Angel, these are well worth picking up. There's only 2. There might be 3 issues. There's definitely 2. But camera. But yeah, this is Guardian Angel. Really, really good. Aaron Weisenfeld, really excellent penciler and storyteller, and it's real nice work. In fact, it's funny, on the back of that book, it actually said that R.T. Bear was going to ink the 2nd issue. Now, I don't remember who inked the 1st issue. I hadn't looked at it, but that was a surprise to me. He had been using Al Vey as an inker a lot. But yeah, it was credited as issue 2 coming, and it said R.T. Bear inking. Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Ian, thank you so much. Jasper, Kirk, Sam, Michael, Steven, thank you so much for the super chat. Everyone, thank you for the super chats. I will pick up Jimmy's brushes today, so thank you for that gift. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to drop them in the Clip Studio I'll read. Oh, well, hopefully Jimmy puts his name on them. But yeah, Antoine, Gorda, everyone, thank you guys so much. And yeah, bingo. That's Kelsey right now. If you could see him, he's got he's drinking eggnog with rum and playing bingo with old Cajun women. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. You get to see a bigger shot of my room. It's funny, is this TV, I'm going to be getting rid of all of this stuff very soon. This TV has not been on in, I don't even know, years, but it's just taking up important space. This could be my pornography collection right here. No. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. I will enjoy my birthday. I don't really have plans, though. It's going to be boring. It's going to be me and my cats and comics. So, all right. Bye. I'm going to sign out. Talk to you guys later. Bye.